Someone called for Seoho, and he answered like he'd been waiting all day to be noticed. The real shock came when they asked him to be the new leader, skipping the current one entirely. Seoho tried to pass the crown, citing birth order, but his brother casually reminded him who actually had the talent. Apparently, Seoho had built the empire from scratch, and his brother wasn't shy about stating the obvious. The weight of leadership hit Seoho like a late tax bill, hard to ignore and growing by the second. He admitted he'd rather chill than chase power, favoring naps over negotiations. The idea of banquets and fake smiles made him cringe. Blame shifting wasn't exactly his dream job. The room went quiet, thick with that special kind of silence only awkward truths can summon. Nobody dared break the calm. It hung there like fog after a storm. A sigh later, thoughts still lingering, the mood held. His brother finally nodded, surrendering with a "do what you gotta do." One last shrug of permission, as if to say, "Your circus, your monkeys." And just like that, the calm shattered. Fire tore through everything without so much as a warning. Years of sweat and strategy went up in smoke in under a minute. In the chaos, his lifelong protector lay still, his final stand already over. Nearby, his second brother had fallen too, silent in the flames. Around him, every familiar face was gone. Jane Lim, the generals, everyone. Seoho just sat there, frozen, surrounded by a sea of the fallen. Blood dripped from his cheek, but shock numbed the pain. He didn't need introductions. Nam Goong Kang stood there, sword in hand, looking way too satisfied. With a blade to his throat, the attacker gave a half-hearted apology, like he was canceling dinner plans. That smug grin didn't help matters, not even a little. Seoho raised a brow, practically daring him. Wasn't this kind of betrayal off-limits under orthodox Murim? Nam Goong shrugged it off. Apparently, someone up top thought Seoho was bad for business. Worse yet, they said he meddled for cash, like ambition was a crime. His mouth bleeding, Seoho managed to toss sarcasm like confetti, calling out his rival's excuses as pitiful and blaming the whole mess on sore losers chasing coins. The jab hit home, and the rival's ego lit up like a fuse. With a scoff, he threw shade, questioning if Seoho had gone deaf mid-battle. Seoho flared up one last time, channeling energy into a desperate, glowing strike. Too slow, his enemy struck first, slamming him to the floor like a falling sack of pride. Gasping through the pain, Seoho silently cursed his own recklessness. Nam Goong Kang towered over him, declaring the Eunhae group a threat and treating this execution like some grand business closure. The blade came down, and Seoho couldn't stop it. As darkness closed in, doubts crept in. Had any of it mattered? Did merchant dreams even count in a world ruled by steel? Maybe if he'd trained earlier, he wouldn't be bleeding out like a rookie. If only the Eunhae group had been more than just mid-tier traders with ambition. He wished fate had cut him a better deal, one without all the dying. A voice snapped through the haze, "Young master," and suddenly, his eyes fluttered open. A scolding came next, accusing him of napping through day one on the job, sick or not. Seoho blinked, dazed and baffled, wondering if this weird office gig was what the afterlife looked like. His new boss, clearly not a fan of naps, was already demanding crop reports like it was the apocalypse. The world swam around him, muffled and unfocused, like a dream clinging to reality. Another voice chimed in, gently suggesting bed rest, and maybe a break from collapsing mid-shift. Panic short-circuited his brain. He lunged, convinced his old enemy had come back for round two. The poor guy yelped and ducked just in time, totally unprepared for a workplace brawl. One bonk to the head later, Seoho was being roasted for dozing and fighting ghosts. The smack had an oddly nostalgic ring to it. Clarity returned, and so did recognition. It wasn't Kang, it was Yu Suak. Suak, the old internal affairs boss from Eunhae, alive and kicking, somehow. Seoho froze. Yu Suak had been dead for years, so why was he standing here, yelling about spreadsheets? Seoho blurted out something dramatic about the afterlife, earning a classic Yu Suak eye roll and a snarky jab about still dreaming. Yu Suak, clearly unimpressed, pointed out that no one had ever tried to deck him before. Seoho was truly one of a kind. Blushing and mumbling excuses, Seoho got sentenced to the wall of shame for his outburst. Classic old-school punishment. Seoho plopped onto the thinking chair, sulking and confused. His brain scrambled to process why a long-dead mentor was suddenly alive and yelling at him. Slowly it clicked. He was back in the past right at the start of his boring commerce lessons. The memory of Yu Suak shredding his first harvest report came back with full cringe. That's when it hit him. Maybe this time he could do things right. With a deep breath, he summoned his ever-reliable shadow, Young-am. Young-am showed up in a flash, all respectful and ready to serve like always. Seoho, still disoriented, tossed out a weird question about his own age. Young-am raised an eyebrow and asked if Seoho had knocked a few screws loose. He then casually dropped the bomb. It was just after Seoho's 15th birthday. Seoho nearly choked on his breath, echoing 15, like it was a curse word. In his head, he screamed he was supposed to be pushing 40, not puberty. Young-am quietly considered calling a head doctor, just in case his young master had truly snapped. One glance at his scar-free baby hands confirmed it. This was no hallucination. He pinched himself the hard way and yelped in real pain. Yep, not a dream. Young-am watched the self-smacking with concern, then stated the obvious, yes, hitting hurts. Seoho muttered something about being dead, still caught in existential whiplash. His mind replayed the horrors, his family, lifeless in front of him. He flinched, reliving the moment the enemy's blade ended it all. His fingers grazed his neck, the phantom pain confirming it hadn't been a dream. The truth finally sank in, he was really back, a second chance against all odds. But the past didn't let go so easily. The blood, the screams, the loss, all stayed sharp. A sting at his neck jolted him. It was all too real and way too familiar. Determined, he swore not to let history blindside him again. Every detail from before played like a highlight reel in his mind. This time, he had the cheat codes, and he planned to use them. Armed with hindsight, he set his sights on outplaying the Murim alliance. A sudden thought hit him. Time check. He called in Eunhae for the calendar verdict. He double-checked. Was yesterday really his 15th birthday or a weird prank? Mental math kicked in. He crunched the timeline fast. The countdown hit him. Just 7 days until disaster was due to strike. No time to waste. He barked orders to Eunhae like a general on the move. Whatever they did had to be off the radar. Top secret. Eunhae blinked, clearly wondering if his boss had inhaled too much incense. He cracked a puberty joke, but Seoho shot the theory down instantly. Somewhere in the dark, a shadowy figure polished his weapons like it was villain o'clock. His crew had doubts, but the man smirked like someone with a sinister to-do list. In hushed tones, 2 men gossiped. Young Seoho was in training, and his bodyguard, basically a walking weapon. One wondered if the job could be done clean, no strings, no blood trails. The response came with a scoff. What's to fear from a cane-clutching kid? Oh, and the muscle? Already accounted for. If things got messy, his plan B was simple. No witnesses, no problem. The other guy raised an eyebrow. Wasn't this the same guy who once bowed to them? The dark figure's reply came colder than ice. In his mind, young Seoho was already marked for an early grave. He even claimed he'd be doing the kid a favor, ending the pain early. With eerie confidence, he figured Seoho was already counting the seconds to doom. In the middle of a snowy chill, Eunhae called out, clearly worried about Seoho's latest snowy scheme. Perched on his servant's shoulders with binoculars in hand, Seoho looked like a tiny commander on a frosty safari. He claimed it was all about fitness and adventure, totally not because he dragged them into another bizarre quest. Eunhae raised a brow, because wandering in a blizzard deserved at least a decent reason. Seoho's mind wandered to a weird, possibly magical fruit. He quietly dubbed it the ultimate cure, probably rarer than common sense in his plans. A splash of red on the snow froze him in his tracks. The sight yanked him back to a past life, his bodyguard bleeding, begging him to run. Back then, Seoho refused to bolt, loyalty outweighing fear. Eunhae stood his ground, claiming it was his duty to stall the danger. He said he'd go down smiling, as long as it meant something. With a sigh, he brought up Seoho's lifelong habit of ignoring good advice. Then, with fire in his voice, he demanded, would his death be wasted too? The enemy's shouts cut through the snow, closing in fast. Eunhae squared up, yelling one last thing to Seoho. He believed Seoho had a future worth fighting for, if only he'd survive. That memory sharpened something. Only 2 people had ever truly had his back. First, the unshakable shield, Eunhae. Second, Baljab still loyally freezing as Seoho's personal mount in the snow. He knew the cure they sought would stir chaos soon, and only these 2 were worthy of that risky mission. When asked, Seoho simply pointed to a frosty blur in the distance like it held all the answers. His target, a mythical fruit, legendary and definitely not on any grocery list, the pure ice peach, supposedly packed with enough yin energy to chill even the 10,000-year ice yin sang. Eunhae looked baffled, so Seoho gave him the pitch. It was his miracle fix. Eunhae wasn't sold, especially when their medicine cabinet was already overflowing with miracles. Seoho made it clear, normal cures were useless since his issue went way beyond a basic energy channel malfunction. He finally dropped the big reveal. He had the rare dragon star body, overflowing with yin energy from birth. Great for women chasing martial arts glory, but for guys, a deadly energy clash with a ticking clock. The only escape, a powerful yin-packed medicine during adolescence to realign the body's energy. In his past life, he'd figured it out too late. The pure ice peach had stayed just out of reach. Eunhae wanted answers, but Seoho waved him off, asking for trust instead of a lecture. Her felt look sealed the deal. Despite the usual headstrong antics, Eunhae gave in, grumbling but loyal. Without another word, he rushed off to fetch the frosty miracle. Meanwhile, Seoho quietly reflected like a student prepping for a life-altering exam. He swore to grow stronger, so no one would ever need to fall for him again. A few days zipped by. Seoho practically bounced through the halls, tossing cheerful greetings like candy. The staff weren't sure what to make of it, but the kid was glowing, no doubt. Meanwhile, Eunhae looked like he'd fought a blizzard and lost, sniffles and all. Whispers started. Seoho looked. He was taller, peppier, and somehow sparkled a little more than before. One excited attendant swore his face had leveled up overnight. According to her, he had officially entered most handsome man alive territory. People noticed he spoke older, calmer, maybe even wiser, like someone who'd lived twice. The mood got awkward fast, and Eunhae had to shoo the gossip crew back to work. The truth surfaced. Seoho had eaten the pure ice peach, and it rewired him inside and out. When the change settled, he opened his eyes. Something about him completely new. He calmly told his two companions to zip it. This was top-secret glow-up business. Of course, the transformation was obvious. Hiding it was like trying to cover a volcano with a hand towel. While chatting, Young M cracked a joke about Seoho's health, then playfully warned he'd strangle him if he dared to fall sick again. Over in finance, Yu Chengwei stared at the mountain of finished paperwork like it had sprouted overnight. He kept muttering in disbelief, baffled at how Seoho wrapped it all up in just 2 hours. The pile in front of him screamed, 2-day job, yet it was somehow done. He flipped through the papers with suspicion, muttering that this should have taken at least 48 hours, not 2. Seoho, a bit sheepish, admitted he hadn't written everything word for word. He just summarized, gave a casual shrug, and said it wasn't that hard. Internally, he kicked himself, probably should have acted more clueless instead of showing off his reincarnated resume. Just then, the official switched to young master mode, clearly ready to drop some serious advice. He warned that even tiny tasks here were delicate, handle with care or face chaos. He compared finances to blood. One leak, and the whole body, or department, could collapse. Seoho caught the hint. Maybe the guy thought speed meant sloppiness. Sure enough, the official called it out, too fast to be flawless. He hadn't forgotten Seoho's nap incident, or the accidental punch to internal affairs boss. One look at the man's face and Seoho could read it like a ledger, pure doubt. So Seoho smirked and threw out a challenge to prove his work was solid. The official blinked, surprised. What kind of bet was this kid planning? Seoho planned to let Yu Suak judge the paperwork and bet on the outcome. The official chuckled, betting Yu Suak would blow a fuse over the rushed job. Still, he took the bait. Maybe this would humble the smug prodigy a bit. Seoho proposed the loser finish all the day's work and bust out the 0-2 dance at his brother's promotion party. The official looked stunned, unsure if this dance challenge was a prank or a cry for help. Still, he accepted the deal and dared Seoho to back out. Seoho was all in. Asung tried to be the voice of reason, urging them to chill before things got out of hand. He got shut down hard, told not to meddle in a man's battle. Poor Asung reminded them he was still technically their boss. With stakes high, Seoho and the finance official marched off to Yu Suak, ready to let the head of internal affairs decide the outcome. Suak eyed the mountain of documents, questioning whether Seoho had really done it solo. Most veterans couldn't pull that off. Seoho beamed with quiet pride, while the finance official stared, stunned, like he'd just seen a magic trick. The official scrambled to salvage his pride, begging Suak to double-check. Surely something had to be off. Yu Changyu erupted, baffled that the newbie nailed a task even pros would sweat over. Suak shut him down with a smack and a jab about his useless glasses, brutal and blunt. Seoho quietly mused that the official wasn't bad. Suak's standards were just on another planet. Seoho stepped over and gave the flustered official a friendly pat on the shoulder. With a cheeky grin, he teased about the upcoming 0-2 dance. No one forgets a bet. Chang Yu called out in protest, but Seoho slipped out coolly, shutting the door like a mic drop. Outside, Seoho wore the smug glow of a man who just scored a win. That glow dimmed fast when a familiar voice snapped that he looked way too pleased. The voice kept going, throwing shade about Seoho's health drama and how he still laughed like nothing mattered. Turns out, the critic was none other than his sharp-tongued brother Jin-ho, who declared him a walking annoyance. A flash of his brother's death from his past life hit Seoho hard, turning the teasing into quiet sorrow. He turned softly to his brother, murmuring his name like it carried the weight of a memory. Jin-ho blinked, thrown off by the sudden tenderness. Was Seoho planning something or just losing it? Seoho recalled their rocky past. No wonder his brother thought kindness meant trouble. Jin-ho laid it out. Business meant stress. Stress meant sickness, and sickness meant dad worrying again. Seoho took it in and silently agreed. His brother wasn't wrong. His brother warned him not to fake illness in front of their dad like some twisted encore. One more fainting act, and Jin-ho swore he'd personally end the drama. Seoho just smiled, promising to play it safe this time. Jin-ho dropped one last ice-cold jab, then stormed off in a huff. The door slammed shut, marking Seoho's messy reunion with his family in the second shot at life. Seoho's cane slipped from his grasp, and he paused, lost briefly in thought. A quiet grin spread across his face. He figured it was about time they saw what he could really do. Unwelcome memories flared up, of smoke, panic, and the finance wing burning to ashes. He remembered the junior official who hadn't made it out that day. The blaze hadn't spared a single record. It had been a huge blow, and the more he thought, the less it felt like an accident. It clicked. Someone had planned that fire. Back at the finance wing, he spotted Yu Changwei buried in paperwork like nothing was wrong. Seoho knew he couldn't play it safe if he wanted to stop history from repeating itself. Yu Changwei raised an eyebrow at the staring, but Seoho just shrugged it off with a smile and walked in. He realized playing the part of the weakling wouldn't cut it anymore. Time for a new image. That evening, the family convened at the main house, the table stacked with food and tension. Despite the feast, the room sat in awkward silence at first. Yang-ho broke the silence, tossing a question to Jin-ho about life in the Sunset Wing, very different from the Breeze Wing apparently. Jin-ho replied casually, preferring lifting crates to crunching numbers any day. Seoho kept his head down, quietly absorbing the exchange. Then the spotlight shifted to Seoho, who answered about his training with practiced politeness. Eunhae advised him to slow down, pacing mattered more than pride. Seoho nodded with a gentle smile, recalling how Eunhae had always been the soft-spoken one. A flash of the past hit hard. He vowed not to let things end like they had before. A haunting memory, not something he'd let happen again. Jinho suddenly cut in, brushing off Seoho's words like they were a bad joke. He scoffed, wondering how someone who spent most days in bed could preach about balance. Eunhae stepped in firmly, calling out Jinho's harsh tone. Jinho fired back, blaming Eunhae's coddling for Seoho's so-called arrogance. Jinho seethed, wondering how long everyone would keep wasting energy on someone they saw as nothing but dead weight. Eunhae's patience snapped. He told Jinho he'd crossed the line. Jinho pushed back, listing Seoho's weaknesses, bloodied coughs, cane in hand, and sarcastically questioned what use he could be. Seoho's calm mind took a hit. His brother's sharp words stung more than he expected. He squared up to Jinho, breaking his silence with a steady, firm call. Jinho snapped back, scolding him for the tone, but Seoho quickly cooled things down, suggesting they drop the argument. Seoho reminded them their father was on his way, and no one wanted to face his disappointment. Eunhae nodded, urging calm. Eunhae couldn't help but notice Seoho seemed different today. Something was off but interesting. There was a new maturity in Seoho's quiet presence that hadn't been there before. Before he could ponder more, the servants' announcement of their father's arrival broke the silence. Seoho's gaze flicked cautiously to the door, alert and tense. With a voice tight but steady, Seoho prepared to speak to his father. Their father slipped in quietly, apologizing for the delay. Eunhae smiled, brushing it off as no big deal. The father's eyes caught Seoho's flushed cheeks, concern instantly written all over his face. Seoho quickly denied any illness, masking his nervous flush as embarrassment. Inside, the real cause was darker, a vivid memory of his father's last moments from a past life. That haunting image of his father's fading face flashed sharply in his mind. Sensing his son's hesitation, Youngul gently asked if there was something on his mind. Seoho paused, battling his emotions, reminding himself this was his father now, not the broken image from before. Feeling his composure slip, he took a mental step back to calm and think clearly. He repeated a quiet mantra. Past tragedies weren't set in stone. Focus on the here and now. A deep breath helped steady the storm inside. With a small smile, Seoho acknowledged his father's understanding and confessed he did have something important to share. Both father and brother exchanged surprised looks, waiting for Seoho to explain. The father invited Seoho to sit down for a serious talk, and Seoho didn't hesitate. Seoho brought up an old talk from before his finance wing training began. Back then, the father limited Seoho to just a broad overview, citing his weak health as a reason to avoid full duties. Seoho seriously challenged this, insisting a day would come when he'd have to lead the wing himself. Jinho blinked in surprise, curious about this sudden shift in Seoho's confidence. The father nodded, acknowledging the truth, and asked Seoho to clarify his intentions. Seoho declared he wanted every task, night shifts included, just like the rest of them. The father shut that down immediately, firmly refusing to allow it. Seoho froze in disbelief, stunned by the flat denial. He snapped back, questioning if the refusal wasn't a bit too strict. The father doubled down, insisting night shifts were impossible with Seoho's health, no exceptions. Night shifts were off limits, but other duties were fair game, the father stressed firmly. Seoho bristled inside, knowing he had to be there that night to stop a disaster he foresaw. He challenged his dad. If he could prove his strength, could he earn the night shift? The father raised an eyebrow, smirking skeptically at how Seoho planned to prove it. Seoho confidently proposed a sparring match against Jinho to settle it. The room went silent, shock painted all faces. Jinho looked downright stunned. Even their father looked caught off guard by the bold idea. Jinho burst out furious, shooting a fierce glare at Seoho. He practically shouted, questioning if Seoho had lost his mind. Seoho just smiled, teasing if Jinho was scared to lose. Eunhae stepped in, shocked, asking Seoho to explain his bold claim. Seoho calmly said easing their health worries was part of his responsibility. He pointed out Jinho's new fighter status, saying lasting through the match would prove his readiness. Jinho quietly admitted Seoho had a point, and asked their father to approve the fight. Eunhae tried to object, but Jinho cut him off, asked their father, who quietly gave the green light. The eldest brother looked shocked, but the father stood firm, insisting Seoho must own his words and actions. He added wisely that everyone faces tests sooner or later. Now was Seoho's moment to prove himself. Seoho saw his dad didn't expect him to win, and that was perfectly fine by him. The father laid down the rules. Survive 1.5 rounds against Jinho, and night shifts would be Seoho's. Seoho bowed, grateful for the shot to prove himself. Eunhae sighed nervously, stress written all over his face. He urged Seoho to quit if things got too rough, no shame in backing down. Seoho, cool and confident, brushed off the warning. Jinho's face twisted in anger, clearly fired up by Seoho's confidence. The fight kicked off on the open training grounds. The brothers squared off. Guards exchanged surprised looks, seeing Seoho step up. One murmured about how Seoho barely stood not long ago. Seoho smiled calmly, signaling for silence and steady nerves. A servant tried to comfort Am, the bodyguard, hoping Seoho would really pull through. Eunhae stood by their father, quietly asking if he worried about Seoho. The father stayed calm, saying there was no cause for concern. Eunhae worried Jinho's disdain might make the fight brutal. Their father nodded thoughtfully. The brothers faced off, Seoho steady and watchful, Jinho serious and tense. Jinho's anger was clear. He was ready to battle hard. Some guards thought the family had lost it, shocked by this unexpected sibling showdown. The bodyguard grew uneasy, wondering if Seoho's calm was something supernatural. Their father ordered the match to start with drum beats. The lead guard hesitated, double-checking. The bodyguard paused, worried for Seoho's safety. Soon he complied, secretly rooting for Seoho to come out on top. Jinho charged up, angry and sharp-tongued, reminding Seoho he didn't know his place. Jinho called Seoho a spoiled kid used to getting his way, while Seoho readied himself calm and confident. Jinho's sharp eyes blamed Seoho's spoiled childhood for his arrogance. Determined to teach a lesson, Jinho struck hard as the older brother should. Suddenly, memory surfaced. Folks joked he couldn't stop watching his baby brother, full of admiration. Another memory followed, his first touch on Seoho's tiny hand. Their father had said Seoho was small and needed protection, a duty Jinho must bear. He pictured Seoho as a baby, hearing his father's careful warning. But now Jinho rejected that role, silently asking why he always had to watch over Seoho. He resented their father's high expectations for him and Eunhae, while Seoho often acted out. Losing patience, Jinho attacked with even more force, determined to end it fast. Seoho stayed cool, calculating exactly how much power to counter Jinho's fury. Then Seoho unleashed snow dragon steps, moving so fast and light it stunned everyone. Jinho's shock was total. He couldn't keep up and started doubting himself. Their father, eldest brother and guards stared in disbelief at Seoho's unexpected skill. Suddenly, Seoho appeared to stumble mid-move. The stumble sparked surprise and concern all around. Seoho flopped down dramatically, joking he just tried a new trick, and tripped, luckily dodging the attack. Jinho fumed at the tease, unsure if Seoho was serious or mocking him. Furious, Jinho struck again, faster and stronger. Seoho dodged effortlessly, calm as ever. Their father and eldest brother looked stunned, bewildered by Seoho's sudden mastery. Eunhae wondered aloud how Seoho pulled it off. Their father recalled warning Jinho not to underestimate Seoho, knowing the duel was well planned. Quietly, he affirmed Seoho as the greatest talent ever in the Eunhae trading group. Even confident in Seoho's talent, the father was amazed, especially since Jinho held back his full power. The father marveled at Seoho's stamina against a top-tier fighter like Jinho, especially given Seoho's past balance issues. He quietly wondered how unstoppable Seoho might become with a true master's training. Yet his worry shifted from Seoho to Jinho, who was visibly rattled. Jinho's frustration grew. Why couldn't he land even one hit? Memories of Seoho's reputation as the group's greatest genius only fueled Jinho's anger and confusion. Then a flashback hit Jinho. He remembered Seoho's serious illness, coughing up blood, a fearsome sight. Helpless from a distance, his worry was obvious. Back then, their father said he couldn't train Seoho anymore, handing him off to the head of external affairs. Jinho protested, wanting his father to train Seoho himself. Their father insisted Jinho accept it. Seoho needed care, and Jinho was now the responsible elder. Meanwhile, Seoho's condition worsened, pain weighing heavy. Anxious, Jinho was told internal bleeding needed urgent stopping, and asked how it started. Guilt crashed down, making Jinho cry and tremble. It became clear he'd accidentally given Seoho a yang energy elixir, worsening his state. Sobbing, Jinho begged his father's forgiveness, insisting his only wish was Seoho's recovery. But the angry father pushed Jinho away without a word. Jinho sat stunned, ignored, and dismissed. He overheard doctors saying Seoho's internal injuries would leave lasting damage, even if he survived. Those harsh memories stoked Jinho's mixed anger and guilt in the heat of battle. Internally, Jinho blamed Seoho's lifelong weakness for their troubles. Anger swirling, Jinho wondered why he had to suffer so much over Seoho. Their weapons clashed hard. Seoho's calm eyes seemed to say family is complicated. Seoho seemed to explain how sibling bonds bring grudges, inevitable, even after a lifetime together. Jinho was stunned and internally demanded what his brother meant by that. Seoho calmly shared it was just old wisdom, but Jinho wasn't having it and charged back with fierce aggression. The eldest brother anxiously asked the time left. The nervous bodyguard said just 9 seconds remained. Jinho's anger flared, unleashing a surge of energy from his sword, ready to strike. Jinho raged, accusing Seoho of wasting time with nonsense and promising no more easy battles. The eldest brother shouted in shock, begging Jinho to calm down and stop the reckless attack. Jinho ignored the warning, launching a brutal, full-power assault. Seoho silently noted with calm that Jinho was clueless about the deeper truth. He recalled their father's words from the past, family ties are messy and grudges can last forever, even among kin. Jinho's memories revealed how long-held hate makes the original reason fuzzy. His bitterness towards Seoho fit that perfectly. He felt a mix of helplessness, anger, and guilt, crushed by Seoho always getting the family's spotlight. In a painful flashback, Jinho silently apologized to Seoho for the years of resentment that weren't his brother's fault. One last painful memory lingered. Jinho internally pleaded with Seoho to never forgive him for the past. Seoho snapped back as Jinho charged, who suddenly questioned if all this was Seoho's fault alone. Mid-charge, that doubt grew louder. The question echoed again inside him. How could he really blame Seoho alone? Unexpectedly, Seoho dropped his weapon, inviting the attack, silently admitting they'd all been immature before. Everyone, including their father and eldest brother, was stunned by Seoho's bold move. Jinho was speechless watching Seoho lay down his weapon. Seoho's calm smile said the attack was nothing new, just powered up from before. Internally, Seoho admitted he still couldn't forgive Jinho. Still, he decided it was time to end the fight. Jinho froze, stunned, unable to attack as he processed Seoho's unexpected surrender. The guards and eldest brother froze in shock so deep the bodyguard forgot the hourglass she held. She quickly regained composure to declare the 10-minute duel ended with no winner, then asked about the bet's outcome. Seoho confidently claimed victory, naming himself the youngest master as the duel's winner. Meanwhile, in the finance wing, officials quietly discussed Seoho's secret win, hidden from public eyes. One official admired Seoho's flawless organization of the financial papers he prepared. With a mischievous grin, the official proposed Seoho become his personal assistant, on call 24/7. The focus shifted to Jinho, hitting the training ground hard to shake off his anger. Sword swings flew fiercely as Jinho released the storm of frustration from his clash with Seoho. Memories of Seoho's past illness surfaced, dragging Jinho back to feelings of guilt and helplessness. He remembered watching helplessly as worried faces surrounded his sick brother long ago. Seoho quietly mused on the endless complications that come with family ties. Exhausted and frustrated, Jinho dropped his sword with a heavy sigh. He couldn't deny his simmering anger any longer. Still, facing Seoho brought an odd sense of relief amidst the rage. Jinho approached a maid to ask about Seoho's current whereabouts. Nervously, the maid revealed Seoho was with the head of internal affairs. Jinho was confused while Seoho sat in a locked room, clearly puzzled by his sudden predicament. Yusuak entered with a sly grin, hinting that Seoho was finally stepping into serious duties. Seoho nervously acknowledged this but sensed something was off. Suddenly, Yusuak's assistant barged in, dragging a screaming, struggling figure behind him. Yusuak declared with a wicked smile that Seoho was officially his assistant, approved by the trading group head. Resistance pointless. Seoho recalled Yusuak's past fate, death from overwork and exhaustion. Yusuak outlined Seoho's heavy workload, finances, loans, budgets, and endless reports. Seoho was overwhelmed by the mountain of tasks ahead. Yusuak's assistant offered gentle reassurance, telling Seoho not to stress too much. She assured him the work would grow on him, just like it had for her. Seoho confidently dismissed the idea, certain he'd never enjoy it. He privately reasoned that taking the assistant role meant endless nights stuck at the office. That meant abandoning his true goal, stopping the looming fire disaster he knew was coming. Memories of Yusuak's last assistant running away, worn out and terrified, made Seoho dread the same fate. Fearful of burning out, Seoho vowed to avoid that grim path at all costs. Seoho tried persuading Yusuak that he wasn't the right fit for the job. He argued training was about learning management broadly, not diving straight into the grind, especially after only 2 days. Seoho recommended picking someone more experienced, insisting he just wanted to learn basics, no special favors. Yusuak paused, noting Seoho's point that assistants usually skip night shifts, the real grind where all challenges gather. Yusuak nodded, appreciating Seoho's honesty and explanation. Then, with a sly grin, Yusuak revealed Seoho would handle routine tasks plus night shifts, another shock for Seoho. Seoho's panic spiked as Yusuak laid out the heavy new responsibilities. Overwhelmed, Seoho bolted, triggering guards to shout and scramble after him. Silver Wind Squad members swiftly restrained Seoho, blocking his escape. 3 days on, a night shift roster named Yu Chang-yu and Yoon Seoho. Seeing the list, Seoho recalled that infamous night, the Great Fire in Finance. Meanwhile, Yu Chang-yu quietly focused on a document, unaware of the brewing chaos. Seoho noticed Yu Chang-yu and remembered his death had happened on a night shift, relieved to keep that memory sharp. At the same time, Seoho teetered on exhaustion's edge, desperate for sleep and sanity. He admitted taking Eunhae Merchant's warmth pills just to stay awake, pushing past his limits daily. The Ice Peach energy helped fight fatigue, but his workload kept swelling. He wondered if Yusuak was purposely drowning him. Seoho vowed to escape soon, not wanting to turn into a workaholic like Yusuaka's assistant, who oddly loved piling on tasks. Seoho exchanged quiet words with Yu Chang-yu. Seoho trusted Yu Chang-yu for the night shift, and Yu calmly admitted relying on Seoho too. Seoho focused on surviving this night one step at a time. Late into the night, Yu Chang-woo appeared, casually offering tea before the shift began. Seoho politely declined, preferring to stay clear-headed without tea. The two settled into quiet work, the silence stretching comfortably between them. Seoho finally broke the quiet, looking Yu Changwei's way. He subtly hinted if Yu had anything on his mind. Yu feigned confusion, pretending not to catch the hint. Seoho shrugged it off, insisting nothing was up. Soon after, Yu chose to inspect the area solo, surprising Seoho. Seoho found Yu's solo patrol a bit unexpected. Once Yu left, Seoho called out for his bodyguard, Eunhae. Silence followed. He guessed she'd dozed off somewhere. Out of nowhere, Young appeared perched oddly high, earning Seoho's raised brow. Seoho invited her down for tea. Surprised but pleased, she accepted. She grimaced at the bitter tea, playfully blaming Seoho for overboiling it. Minutes later, sedated, she nodded off on the floor. Seoho calmly noted the tea had a secret ingredient. Watching her sleep, Seoho wished exhaustion would grant him the same sweet escape. Still drained, he pushed himself up to begin his patrol. Suddenly, a shadow slipped through the finance wing. Seoho was ready to catch the arsonist. Something dropped with a soft clink as the figure moved. The faint glow of a lit match sparked the flames. Seoho jumped out, teasing the arsonist overzealous fire starting. The man froze, startled by Seoho's sudden arrival. Seoho moved lightning fast, snatching the match before a reaction could come. Holding the match, Seoho admired its fierce burn, like fuel on a flame. Seoho teased the man for being overly ready to start the fire, as if he'd rehearsed every step. He dropped the man's real name, Asung, from the wing, catching him completely off guard. Asung flew into a rage, demanding how Seoho uncovered his secret. Seoho smirked, joking if Asung would believe a claim from the future. Asung deadpanned, knowing Seoho wouldn't spill the truth. Seoho shot back, questioning if that mattered now. Seoho coolly pointed out the real issue. He caught Asung red-handed, match in hand. Suddenly, Asung burst out laughing hysterically. He admitted Seoho was right, that his cleverness wasn't just rumor. Then, with a wicked grin, Asung pulled a knife, asking if Seoho was solo. Seoho fired back teasingly, joking he was still single and ready. That pushed Asung over the edge, lunging at Seoho with a furious shout. Elsewhere, Yu Changyu inspected the area with a lantern, suspicion creeping in. He recalled a past chat with Seoho. Seoho had asked if Yu had something to say. Yu had denied it back then. Back with Yu, he asked Seoho how he finished work so fast. Yu confessed bafflement, having spent years there without finishing tasks like Seoho on day 2. He wondered aloud what kind of magic Seoho was using. Seoho joked that might explain Yu's coldness. Yu denied being cold, clearly annoyed. Seoho shrugged it off, saying he just aimed to do more than tick boxes. He added that reading the head of internal affairs intentions helped. Mid-chat, Seoho chuckled, admitting he sounded like an old man quoting his dad. Yu mixed frustration with respect, impressed by Seoho's skills. Seoho calmly said such feelings were fuel for growth, not negativity. Yu smiled, admitting he'd heard that from his dad too, then resumed his patrol. Seoho wondered quietly if Changwei planned to handle things solo. Changwei thought going alone might actually be the smartest move. As Changwei roamed, he marveled how a rookie like Seoho stunned everyone, even questioning if the Eunhae group's future really rested with him. The thought made him remember just how irritating Seoho could get sometimes. Changwei grabbed a warm tea to chill out but regretted skipping the one Seoho offered earlier. Mid-sip, something unexpected caught his eye. A greasy stain on a utensil raised his suspicion. Meanwhile, Seoho and Asung's fight heated up as Asung launched fierce attacks. Seoho shrugged off the blows easily, joking that after battling Jinho, this was a breeze. He unleashed a slick move, the bamboo strike from Snow Dragon art, making the fight look effortless. Asung was stunned by Seoho's unexpectedly high skill level. He couldn't wrap his head around how a known weakling moves so strong and fast. All the while, the hits kept coming. Asung barely believed the fight was real, feeling trapped in a nightmare. Flashback showed Asung's miserable, aimless past. He trembled nervously over mahjong tiles, weighed down by life's pointlessness. In desperation, he gambled everything on one mahjong tile. Losing again triggered his fury, sparking a fight with the other players. He accused them of cheating to cover his loss. After getting beaten down, Asung lay on the floor, sinking into thoughts of his wasted life. Then a mysterious figure showed up, mocking him as Warrior Ah in his pitiful state. Asung begged for a chance, promising repayment and reminding the man of his finance wing ties. The stranger nodded, recognizing Asung's talents. He then offered to team up again under new terms. As unconsciousness took him, Asung was overwhelmed by despair, convinced nothing mattered anymore. Just before losing consciousness, Seoho knocked him back, insisting the show wasn't over. Seoho grilled the coughing, worn-out Asung, chillingly telling him he'd lost his humanity. Seoho made it clear, when under pressure, only the truth would do, asking if that was understood. Asung's silence earned Seoho a sharper demand for a straight answer. Hours slipped by until dawn, around 4 or 5 a.m. Seoho faced the leaders in the courtyard, apologizing for the early chaos but insisting his reasons were sound. He informed everyone the message was clear. The arsonist targeting the finance wing was caught. Elsewhere, a song dangled tied to a tree, a grim warning swaying in the breeze. Seoho revealed the Lotus House of courtesans had pulled the strings behind the fire. He credited Jo Byung-chul's water wheel for breaking Asang's resistance and forcing a full confession. Asang broke down, begging for mercy or release through death. Seoho's father showed up, serious and probing. He calmly sought confirmation that the Lotus House was indeed behind the mess. Seoho noted Asang must have felt utterly betrayed. He explained the Lotus House ranked among the top 5 courtesan families in Hubei, with deep Eunhae ties. Jo Byung-chul suggested the fire was a desperate attempt to erase a huge debt owed by Lotus House. Eunhae pointed out the plan's success would have buried the culprit amid many debtors. Go Il-byung, head of external affairs, sighed relief that the chaos ended without bloodshed. Seoho quietly reflected, while others praised him for averting disaster in everyone's sleep. Inside, Seoho felt no doubt. He knew guard Yu Changwei would have died if he hadn't stopped him from sipping that knockout tea. Seoho cut off the compliments, shifting focus to planning their next move. Go Il-byung admired Seoho's humble confidence despite his youth. He noted Seoho dove straight into business without wasting time. Eunhae was impressed by Seoho's calm under pressure. The leaders acknowledged Seoho's clear talent. Unexpectedly, Yusuak urged Seoho to free Asang, feeling uneasy watching him hang, reminding everyone he was still human. Seoho blinked at Yusuak's sudden kindness but agreed without protest. Once down, a bystander checked on Asang, who gratefully acknowledged Yusuak's rare gentleness. Then, shockingly, Yusuak smacked Asang again, claiming being awake meant more punishment was due. Still furious, Yusuak blamed Asang for his sleepless night and didn't hold back on the beatings. Seoho stunned everyone by suggesting they torch their own finance wing. Yusuak nearly exploded at the idea, but Go Il-byung calmly reminded him it was Seoho's call here. Eunhae admitted the plan was oddly brilliant. Seoho explained the power of a well-placed lie to cloud the truth and sow confusion. He spelled out the plan in clearer terms. The key was to fool the Lotus House completely. They had to convince the Lotus House the fire succeeded, prompting them to expose their real goals. Most leaders backed Seoho's plan, only Yusuak called it madness to torch a good building over a fib. With the vote in, the finance wing was set to burn for real. Flames engulfed the wing as Seoho walked away coolly, ignoring Yusuak's shocked cries. Luckily, all key documents and the bodyguard were safely away from the blaze. Watching the fire, Seoho felt different this time, more in control than before. He convinced himself this blaze was progress, not disaster. Meanwhile, Seoho pitied Yusuak, who sank into despair over the rebuilding costs. Later, Seoho checked the Lotus House debt deadline, Buddha's birthday next month. He smiled, deciding to delay the problem and find funds elsewhere. A month later, inside a grand Hubei courtesan house, guests buzzed about the massive fire at Eunhae Trading Group. They marveled at the cause, whispering rumors that all Lotus House contracts had gone up in flames. Some guessed the fire was just a clever dodge to skip debt payments. Chief manager Seo So-chang showed up, visibly annoyed by the idea that burning papers wouldn't erase debts. He stepped in to halt the chaos and headed straight to meet the housemaster. Surprise hit him finding the master lounging amid a swarm of courtesans. So-chang's frustration flared at the chaotic sight. He demanded if the master had returned to reckless ways banned by his predecessor. The master cut him off sharply, telling him to stop beating around the bush. Baek Bok threatened openly, hinting he was close to losing his temper completely. Internally, So-chang considered quitting, labeling Baek Bok utterly useless. Regaining composure, So-chang bluntly confronted the master about dodging Eunhae debts. He reminded that burning papers didn't erase old partnerships or debts. Baek Bok shrugged it off, claiming the debt was overdue, and Eunhae would have acted if bothered, then coldly ordered So-chang out. So-chang hesitated but pushed back, unwilling to leave quietly. Baek Bok snapped, repeating the order with no patience for objections. So-chang protested passionately, comparing Baek Bok unfavorably to the former master. Baek Bok summoned So-chang closer, making the manager visibly nervous. Baek Bok reached for something nearby just as So-chang stepped forward. Without warning, Baek Bok smashed a bottle on So-chang's head, cursing furiously. So-chang crumpled in pain, gasping, while Baek Bok demanded violently. Baek Bok challenged fiercely who really ruled the house, the master or his father. He ranted that So-chang was nothing but an obstacle in his path. Baek Bok flopped back in his chair, sarcastically promising to handle the dune merchants next. His attention shifted to a visibly shaking courtesan nearby. Smiling wickedly, he explained that Dune Group's demands were annoying but tied to powerful White Heaven and Murim alliances. Baek Bok grinned darkly, vowing that once this was settled, he'd finally escape Eunhae's shadow and his father's comparisons. He laughed, joking he might just wipe out the Eunhae group altogether. Suddenly, a servant burst in, apologizing for the intrusion but stressing urgency. The servant nervously reported that Eunhae's trading group had arrived, guards in tow. Baek Bok was caught off guard, baffled by their unexpected arrival. Seoho stood at the door with his crew, surprised no one blocked their unannounced entry. A teammate sarcastically joked about the guards' pay, given the house's debt history. Seoho shrugged and decided to just walk in, no signs of a warm welcome anyway. Weapon ready, Seoho charged in, flashing a grin as he declared their visit was about the money. He entered humming happily, oddly upbeat for a debt collector. His crew exchanged puzzled looks at his unexpected cheerfulness. Seoho burst in on Bekbok, sarcastically announcing the money collection had arrived. Some in the group raised eyebrows, curious why Seoho was so personally invested. Bekbok snapped, demanding to know who dared barge in unannounced. Seoho's grin vanished when he spotted a courtesan crumpled on the floor. Seoho quickly summoned his bodyguard Young Am, who responded immediately, alert and respectful. Seoho approached Bekbok sarcastically, suggesting his debt-dodging act was even worse than expected. He mocked Bekbok's uselessness, clearly enjoying the sting of his words. He joked bitterly that the former master would be proud of Bekbok's mess. That comment sparked Bekbok's fury instantly. Bekbok lunged at Seoho, rage fueling his quick steps. Bekbok swung his sword, but Seoho blocked effortlessly, calm and confident. Nearby, a Eunhae member whispered nervously to a colleague. Seoho taunted Bekbok, telling him to stop talking and just attack if he was serious. He teased that Bekbok might want him to initiate the fight. Bekbok fumed, yelling insults and launching a furious counterattack. Seoho effortlessly blocked the strike, moving so fast it left everyone stunned. He stood calm and smiling, clearly confident despite Bekbok's raging frustration. Bekbok kept swinging wildly, but Seoho dodged and countered with barely a sweat. Frustration and disbelief spread across Bekbok's face as he failed to land a single hit. Eventually, Bekbok paused, out of breath, and baffled by Seoho's effortless defense. A memory flickered. Jin-ho, the martial arts pro, was the second son. Who was Seoho really? Maybe even stronger than expected. Seoho grinned, enjoying Bekbok's confusion, teasing that losing meant he deserved a proper lesson. Bekbok lunged again, furious and determined not to let Seoho off so easily. Seoho appeared behind him, cool as ice, warning him to grit his teeth, enough to spook Bekbok. A sharp cane strike to the head sent Bekbok sprawling in obvious pain. Seoho joked about the loud crack, implying Bekbok's head might be emptier than expected. A teammate nervously checked if Bekbok was done for, but Seoho assured him the hit wasn't fatal. Another group member snapped Bekbok awake with a sharp slap to the face. Bekbok jolted awake, startled by Jokbyung-chul's menacing grin looming over him. Fear hit Bekbok hard, making him recoil and scream in shock. Jokbyung-chul laughed at Bekbok's terror, teasing if the fear meant he wanted to die. Bekbok's eyes met Seoho's, who stood poised to wrap things up. Seoho reminded Bekbok that missed payments weren't new, and patience was out of respect for the old master, not because they were fools. Bekbok scrambled to deny it, confused and stammering over what payments Seoho meant. Seoho tossed documents at Bekbok, proof of goods Eunhae had supplied the entire year. Seoho stated no payments were made all year, and reminded Bekbok the contract handed full ownership to Eunhae if debts weren't cleared. Bekbok exploded, accusing Seoho of forging papers to blackmail him. He claimed the finance records were lost in a fire and dismissed Seoho's claims as baseless blackmail. Jokbyung-chul cut in, visibly annoyed, tired of Bekbok's endless denials. Seoho slammed his cane down by Bekbok's head, daring him to double-check the so-called fake papers. Seoho held the weathered document right in Bekbok's face, forcing him to confront the faded seal and undeniable proof. Doubt crept in as Bekbok's bravado cracked, sweat forming while fear settled over the truth in that old paper. He quietly questioned if the Dune group had seriously messed up their plans somewhere along the way. Shaking and confused, Bekbok wondered if he'd been played by the Dune group, struggling to grasp their possible betrayal. Seoho mockingly waved the paper, joking that Bekbok's brain was making some faint, desperate noises trying to process it all. That jab only fueled Bekbok's anger, leaving him rattled and even more off balance. Seoho sarcastically wondered why Bekbok hadn't just run the Lotus House right and enjoyed life, instead of scheming in the shadows. Plainly put, Seoho called out Bekbok for all the shady deals he'd been hiding from everyone. Just then, the Lotus House's chief manager, CEO Sochang, stepped in, politely asking to speak up. Seoho immediately recognized the man's name and face. He recalled Sochang had suffered under Bekbok's harsh hand not long ago. Seoho remembered how Sochang had once saved a failing house, lifting it to the top 3 in Hubei, and felt pity seeing him stuck in this mess now. As Seoho moved forward, formally greeting Sochang with respect. Sochang skipped the small talk, pulling out the Lotus House account book and pointing out an unregistered new branch on page 7. Bekbok exploded, shouting threats at Sochang to shut up before things got worse. His rage died down as Seoho's bodyguard loomed behind, knife in hand and ready. The bodyguard's glare alone was enough to freeze Bekbok mid-threat. Still, Bekbok quickly regained his venom, launching fresh threats at Sochang. Another group member stepped in, quietly asking Seoho if he could talk to Bekbok alone. Calmly but firmly, he told Bekbok it was all done and he needed to quit right now. He added with regret that Bekbok had clearly crossed a point of no return. Meanwhile, Sochang thought back to rumors that had swirled around Bekbok for years. The whispers always pointed out how Baekbok fell short compared to his late father's legacy. So Chang recalled seeing Baekbok once, crushed and isolated, crushed under endless expectations and comparisons. Baekbok had been boiling with rage, muttering bitter words soaked in hatred and self-loathing. Baekbok wondered if anyone truly believed his father would stay in charge forever, silently hinting at his own ambitions lurking beneath the surface. So Chang reflected on the tangled past that had shaped Baekbok into the troubled man he was now. So Chang admitted to Baekbok that, though he knew the son couldn't replace his father, he had tried to support him and regretted how hard he'd worked to keep peace. Baekbok snapped angrily at So Chang, but So Chang stayed calm and asked Seoho to verify the financial records they'd discussed. Seoho started piecing together that the Dune trading group might be tangled up in this mess. He recalled how the Dune group linked to the White Heaven merchants who answered to the Murim alliance. Lost in thought, Seoho wondered what schemes the Murim alliance could be cooking up next. So Chang snapped Seoho out of his daydream, calling him back to focus. Young Am, his bodyguard, noticed Seoho zoning out and gently asked what was troubling him. She pressed for details about the wing he wanted to check, ready to jump in if things went south. Seoho smiled, admitting he wasn't sure why he had to go but felt compelled to find out himself. So Chang, a bit annoyed by Seoho's casual attitude, revealed the wing was Baekbok's new project. Arriving at the wing, Seoho found it surprisingly ordinary, except for the unsettling chill hanging in the air. He asked Young Am if she felt any presence nearby. She said it was eerily quiet. Deciding it was safe, Seoho stepped inside, trusting no one was lurking. So Chan noted the place was empty due to a strict no-entry order until tomorrow. Suddenly, Seoho sensed something off and told So Chang he'd felt suspicion here before. Seoho positioned So Chang behind him and readied himself and Young Am for whatever might come. In a low voice, Seoho challenged the hidden figure to reveal themselves without delay. From the shadows stepped a cloaked figure, face masked and movements silent. Seoho, impressed by the stealth, demanded the stranger reveal who he was. The figure stayed silent. Without a word, he drew his weapon, ready to strike. Seoho accepted the fight was on and ordered Young Am to shield So Chang. The battle erupted instantly, the attacker moving with lightning-fast precision. Seoho narrowly dodged, stunned by the attacker's lightning-fast moves. A fast-paced duel erupted, each blow exchanged with sharp skill and speed. After a quick flurry, the masked figure suddenly backed away. The figure dashed toward the exit, trying to slip away, just before making a clean getaway. A firebomb sailed through the air. Seoho instantly yelled for cover. The blast erupted, choking the room with smoke and dust. Once the dust settled, Seoho checked on So Chang, who assured him he was okay, despite the chaos. Seoho quickly realized it wasn't a firebomb, just smoke to cover the getaway. It became clear the masked attacker's only plan was a quick escape. He silently admitted how close they were to real danger. Then a voice called out unexpectedly from the shadows. It was So Chang, revealing a hidden underground tunnel leading straight to the Lotus House of Cortesans, though even he didn't know why Baekbok had it built. Seoho was genuinely surprised by the discovery of this secret passage. After a quick pause, Seoho tasked Young Am with guarding the tunnel entrance. He inspected the tunnel entrance closely, suspecting the masked attacker's link to it. Seoho's shock grew upon spotting the Dune Trading Group's emblem. The emblem was carved right into the tunnel's door. Later, Seoho headed back to the Eunhae main building to discuss things with his father, Youngjil Sung. His father questioned the secret tunnel and the Dune emblem found at its entrance. Goil Byung, head of external affairs, casually proposed selling the Lotus House to avoid headaches. Seoho quickly shut down that suggestion. His sharp refusal surprised everyone. Goil Byung asked why he was so opposed. Seoho calmly explained the Lotus House's value as a top courtesan house, drawing nobles and the wealthy, perfect for networking. He added it was a prime source for insider info and boosting Eunhae Trading's business. Seoho confidently argued that keeping manager So Chang meant easy management and steady profits down the road. His father agreed, impressed by So Chang's talent as shown in the books. Meanwhile, Yusuak smirked, secretly plotting to grab So Chang for his own teams. So Chang suddenly shivered, sensing something off. Seoho's cold smile unsettled So Chang, sparking silent fear. The father rewarded Seoho with a well-earned break after his recent success. He acknowledged Seoho's exhaustion, granting a few days off to recharge. Yusuak, head of internal affairs, fumed at the vacation news, his face dark with resentment. In his fury, Yusuak muttered "no way" repeatedly, firmly opposing Seoho's time off. Seoho assured his father he'd deal with Yusuak himself, urging him to relax. Yusuak froze in fear when Seoho's intense glare stopped his retreat. Later, Young Am joked about a ghost in the wing, making Seoho laugh and shiver at the eerie thought. As Seoho left with Young Am, he rolled his eyes inwardly at all the ghost talk. Seoho recalled past life memories. Nobles backed Murim and White Heaven thanks to secret meetings in the Lotus House tunnel. A confident smile spread. This place was now theirs, fooling the Murim alliance brilliantly. Young Am eyed Seoho warily, wondering if the ghost stories had finally unhinged him. Seoho regretted missing the masked attacker, craving answers from a capture. Seoho told young Am to keep the wing incident from his father, no need for extra stress. He mulled over the masked fighter's skills, suspecting tougher battles with Murim ahead. Suddenly, Seoho resolved to find his past life teacher. Today felt like the day. Memories flooded back, his teacher's regret over a delayed patrol that couldn't save a son. A heavy sadness settled as Seoho reflected on past losses. Seoho abruptly asked young Am the date, catching her off guard. Shock and fury hit Seoho hard. Today marked the tragic death of his teacher's eldest son. Without hesitation, Seoho sped through the forest with young Am and a doctor in tow. Racing against time, Seoho pushed forward, determined not to be too late. Seoho told young Am to keep the doctor safe and catch up later. He had to reach the scene first. Young Am nodded calmly, trusting Seoho's lead. Seoho remembered the eldest son playing with his brother in the bamboo grove, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Moving fast through the trees, Seoho's mind raced with worry for the boy's fate. He scoured the bamboo forest, heart pounding, fearing the worst for the brothers. Meanwhile, the eldest lay wounded, blood pooling as his younger brother panicked, desperately trying to stop the bleeding. The younger brother's pleas echoed through the forest. His cries for help pierced the quiet woods. Seoho arrived just in time, drawn by the urgent calls. The little brother sobbed, blaming himself for dragging his sibling into danger. Seoho crouched down, offering a gentle hand and soft words to ease the boy's guilt. A warm smile reassured the younger one. His cries had saved the day. Tears of relief replaced the sorrow as Seoho praised his courage. Soon Young arrived with the doctor, ready to tackle the emergency. Seoho stayed close, comforting the younger sibling, while the doctor worked. He kept reassuring the boy, promising brighter days ahead. Seoho watched the treatment unfold, inwardly relieved and quietly proud of the life saved. The focus shifted to the medical wing of the Eunhae trading group. Seoho studied the wound, realizing a delay would have meant tragedy. He found comfort in hoping for more smiles from his teacher this time around. Seoho pondered the unbearable pain of losing a child, a sorrow beyond his grasp. Determined, Seoho vowed to reshape the future, one step at a time. He convinced himself the moment was right for his teacher's arrival. Just then the teacher burst in, calling anxiously for Hyung-jin. Seoho quickly spotted his teacher, fresh from a protection mission. He introduced himself politely, sharing how he'd found and saved the teacher's son in the bamboo forest. The teacher expressed heartfelt thanks, admitting the rescue had prevented disaster. Seoho downplayed it, calling his timing nothing but pure luck. He gave credit to the younger son, who'd kept the bleeding under control until help came. The teacher checked on his eldest, softly touching his forehead as the boy slept. He was touched by Seoho's humble and respectful attitude. The teacher admitted he couldn't imagine how to repay such kindness. Seoho felt surprised inside, realizing his once stern teacher had a gentle, humble side. Suddenly, the teacher's eyes locked on Seoho's hand, sensing something unusual. After a pause, the teacher asked Seoho something quietly. He requested a private conversation away from prying ears. Seoho tensed, wondering what serious matter awaited. The teacher insisted they move somewhere private, saying this wasn't the right place or time. Then came the serious news. Seoho's body was unique, a truth that stunned him deeply. That night, Seoho met the teacher alone in the forest, who apologized for the late, unguarded meeting. Seoho smiled, guessing his teacher preferred privacy for the secret. The teacher returned the smile, praising Seoho's sharpness. Seoho silently wondered if the pure ice peach's energy had altered his body. He also pondered if the teacher had caught on to the transformation. Finally, the teacher asked outright if Seoho knew about the mysterious Dragon Star body. Seoho froze, realizing his secret was no longer hidden. The teacher confirmed Seoho's awareness of the Dragon Star body's mystery. He smiled gently, ready to ease Seoho's worries. Reassuring Seoho, he told him not to stress or be nervous. The teacher revealed he'd felt strong yin energy in Seoho's hand, instantly recognizable from his own study of ice arts powered by that very energy. From that moment, the teacher was sure Seoho carried the mysterious Dragon Star body. Seoho cautiously inquired if the teacher knew about this rare condition. The teacher calmly admitted he'd met someone else with the same mysterious body before. Seoho was stunned to learn this, amazed the teacher had encountered the same condition previously. The teacher confirmed but kept the person's identity secret. Seoho accepted this quietly, respecting his reasons. Then the teacher revealed why he'd raised the topic in the first place. He sincerely offered to teach Seoho the ice arts he had mastered. Seoho feigned surprise, though he'd half expected it, choosing to play along. The teacher pointed to fate. Seoho's rescue, his body's secret, and their meeting were all connected. He honestly wanted to repay Seoho's kindness by passing on his knowledge. Seoho felt relieved and happy, barely hiding a growing smile. He politely asked to learn the ice arts from his skilled teacher. The teacher was openly surprised at how quickly Seoho agreed. Seoho explained refusing such an offer from a respected leader, tied to his trading group, was unthinkable. Convinced, the teacher scheduled their training to start the next morning. The next morning, the teacher began explaining Seoho's new technique, the sacred yin icy art. Seoho was told his core energy was ready. He only needed to learn the flow and practice it himself. The teacher channeled energy through Seoho to help him feel and grasp the technique. Suddenly, the teacher noticed something unusual that shocked him. Seoho's energy channels were already fully open, unexpected and impressive. The teacher asked Seoho seriously if he already knew this martial technique. Seoho denied knowing, though he secretly recalled opening his channels before. The teacher cautiously asked if Seoho's life had ever been at risk from his strong yin energy. As Seoho admitted, he once took a powerful miracle medicine that almost cost him his life. The teacher nodded calmly, explaining the technique was created ages ago to help people survive deadly cold, especially near freezing death. The teacher said the martial art was born from ancestors battling deadly cold. Seoho felt a twinge of guilt for keeping some past secrets. A gentle hand landed on Seoho's shoulder. Turning, he saw his teacher's kind expression, addressing him respectfully. Seoho smiled in response, and the teacher's joyful nod said everything needed. This was promising. The teacher, clearly pleased, declared Seoho ready to dive straight into grueling physical and endurance training, starting now. Seoho blinked in surprise, wondering if training was seriously starting this instant. The teacher warned the training would be brutal enough to make Seoho want to curse, causing a flicker of fear. Then the teacher gently reminded Seoho that saving his son meant this was personal. He vowed to do everything possible so his teachings would keep Seoho alive too. Seoho plunged into a relentless, punishing routine. Daytime was swallowed by exhausting office tasks. Evenings were claimed by merciless physical drills from his teacher. Tirelessly, Seoho buried himself in paperwork all day. Spare moments belonged to strict training sessions with his demanding teacher. So drained, Seoho vowed to spend his next break doing nothing but resting flat out. Meanwhile, in the finance wing, a worker rushed in, announcing a guest was waiting for the chief. The chief, swamped with work, snapped, demanding to know which guest dared to interrupt. Hearing it was Mr. Song, the chief instantly switched moods and decided to greet him personally. The chief then told Seoho to gear up and come along. Seoho wondered why, but the chief explained Mr. Song's visits always meant extra paperwork. Better for Seoho to join now than waste time explaining things later. That would just be pointless delay. Frustrated, Seoho blamed his lazy boss for dumping work on him and dreamed of escaping this grind. The chief left, instructing assistant Zhao Yangjiang to watch over Seoho. With a sly grin, he promised more work upon return, leaving her both shocked and strangely excited. Elsewhere, the wing chief sat with Mr. Song, exchanging greetings after a long absence. Mr. Song started to speak but suddenly paused, hesitation clear in his voice. The chief noticed the hesitation, but Mr. Song brushed it off, calling his companion an assistant, almost slipping with servant before correcting himself. Mr. Song then admitted he was here to ask for help. The chief's expression turned serious, sensing trouble. Mr. Song explained officials claimed some of his land was missing from recent tax calculations. He added that a trusted contact suspected the officials were actually searching for something. The chief stayed calm, suggesting it might be a misunderstanding and offering to meet the official to clarify once the item was found. Mr. Song then dropped a strange detail. They were searching for a doll that moved and danced on its own. Seoho was stunned, silently questioning the idea of a self-dancing doll. Another Eunhae trader echoed the disbelief. Really? A doll that dances alone? The chief nodded, showing he grasped Mr. Song's predicament. But he cautiously asked if official Bo Jung-se had truly requested the item, confirming if the request came straight from Bo Jung-se. Mr. Song tensed, hesitating before responding. He awkwardly admitted the truth was different. It was actually connected to Lady Zhou. Lady Zhou's name dropped the room into awkward silence, tension thick in the air. The chief then apologized, explaining they couldn't take on the request. Seoho recalled rumors about Lady Zhou, imagining himself tied and gagged, a sign this was no joke. Seoho shared how noble women played a strange monthly game, picking one to fetch rare items as a challenge. Challenges could include finding rare treasures like golden flowers. Fail the challenge, and the unlucky lady had to throw a fancy banquet for all the players. The winner earned queen-like treatment from the others until the next round began. And behind it all was Lady Zhou, the mastermind running the whole game. She was the wife of official Bo Jong-seo. The game started simple but evolved over time. It became a fierce contest that eventually hurt everyday folks. Seoho once couldn't grasp why anyone cared so much about such trivial games. Seeing Mr. Song's distress, Seoho started to get why these games mattered so much. Mr. Song fiercely denied any wrongdoing, baffled by the tax evasion accusations. He believed getting that rare doll would finally let him prove his innocence to Bo Jong-se. Seoho quietly wondered how many lives Lady Zhou's game had wrecked like this. He remembered Mr. Song was a respected, longtime ally of the Eunhae traders. Seoho figured helping Mr. Song now might pay off big later, but he paused, realizing getting tangled with Lady Zhou could be seriously risky. The moment closed with Mr. Song silent and frustrated, comforted gently by the wing chief's hand. Seoho smirked sarcastically, curious what thoughts were running through his own head. Sad memories of his trading group's downfall surfaced, fueling his resolve for a new goal in the past. The harsh image of his defeated, bound father stayed sharp in his mind, etched forever. The wing chief untied Seoho, surprising those who'd thought him only a servant. Seoho then revealed a crucial secret about a rare item everyone wanted. With a confident smile, he declared he'd personally go after the rare item. He clarified the sought-after treasure was the self-dancing doll. The doll triggered memories from a past life of its mysterious creator. That creator hailed from the Golden Immortal Village in Jiangxi Province. Seoho resolved to seek that person in Jiangxi but vowed to steer clear of Lady Zhou at all costs. He recalled an imperial order was imminent, set to ban the noblewomen's game entirely. Once that order landed, Lady Zhou's troubles and the chaos would finally end for good. Seoho told himself he'd be safe as long as he kept under Lady Zhou's radar. Until then, Eunhae suddenly called out, catching Seoho off guard with her unexpected shout. She firmly reminded Seoho to always inform her first, especially about sudden trips like this one, to Jiangxi. Seoho shrugged off worries, blaming the snowy roads for the sudden plan and insisting it wasn't worth the fuss. He boasted he could handle trips solo now and stressed the mission's importance for the Eunhae trading group. He reassured Eunhae that his father and others had already given the green light. With a grin, he mentioned his older brothers had sent gifts and good luck vibes for the journey. Eunhae finally gave in but warned him to leave his sword behind for safety's sake. Noticing Seoho's wide grin, she couldn't help but ask what was so funny. Baljab jumped in, excited and nervous, since this was Seoho's first official business trip. Warrior Lim Gyeongbin reassured Eunhae that Seoho was more than capable, no worries needed. Seoho promised to do his best to keep the trip running without a hitch. A warrior joked their boss wanted Seoho back ASAP, adding a light tease to the mood. Eunhae smirked, half amused, half annoyed by their boss's wise advice. Lim Gyeongbin mentioned that top guards Oh Wak and Young Chung were joining, so danger was unlikely. He joked it'd be safe, unless bandits showed up, of course. Seoho's smile faded as he worried if he was dragging them into trouble. Seoho quickly jumped from the carriage, checking if something was off. He spotted something unusual and asked quietly, puzzled. A tough-looking man suddenly appeared, eyes locked sharply on the group. The stranger smiled widely, casually noting it had been ages since their last meeting. Yang Chung greeted Kwak Myung-hyun, the prosperous agency's head, exchanging calm pleasantries. The tough man nodded toward the carriage, guessing their destination was Jiangxi Province. Yang Chung confirmed, explaining their cargo needed protection from snow, which had slowed them down. The big man smiled, pleased to hear that. Good news for his group. He explained their fortress commander sent him to invite the group for rest and warm tea at the stronghold. Yang Chung and Kwak Myung-hyun shared nods of approval, clearly on the same page. Seoho stepped back, nerves rising as he recognized the notorious Green Forest bandit gang nearby. It clicked that their presence signaled someone important was close by, raising the stakes. Inside the fortress, a boisterous commander welcomed the group warmly, laughter filling the room around the dining table. The commander, Zhang Daexu, the fanged wolf-sword demon, grinned broadly as he greeted the visitors. Yang Chung calmly shared his role as third in command of Eunhae Trading and Silver Wind Squad leader. Kwak Myung-hyun followed, identifying himself as head of the Prosperous Protection Agency. Zhang Daexu explained the invite came from concern over the harsh cold and thanked them for accepting on short notice. Yang Chung smiled softly, appreciating the break they all badly needed. Seoho quietly admired Zhang Daexu's kindness, seeing why he earned respect as bandit leader. Zhang Daexu lifted his teacup, urging everyone to enjoy the food and hot tea before it cooled. Nearby, a nervous companion whispered to Seoho's bodyguard, puzzled by the calm in a bandit den. The bodyguard explained calmly that not every bandit or pirate jumps into fights with merchants or guards. Seoho smiled, noting that reckless troublemakers rarely lasted long in these parts. He added that merchants generally pass safely when respecting unspoken rules with the bandits. A companion gave Seoho a puzzled look, clearly curious. The companion bluntly asked why Seoho sounded so confident despite this being his first trip, leaving Seoho slightly embarrassed. Seoho bounced back with a smile, crediting wise advice from older brothers, and urged everyone to eat before the food cooled. Seoho sipped the tea, quietly impressed by its rich flavor. He mused that the tea must be pricey, questioning if this was the best time for such luxury. Suddenly, Zhang Daexu singled out Seoho, noting he didn't quite fit the usual traveler profile. Seoho flushed slightly, apologizing with a small smile for skipping introductions. He admitted he'd overlooked introducing himself sooner. Seoho confidently stated his role in Eunhae Trading's finance wing. Zhang Daexu raised an eyebrow at the name Yoon, then probed Seoho's connection to Eunhae's leader. Seoho casually confirmed he was indeed his father's son. The man laughed heartily, impressed by Seoho's nature, and quickly invited him to sit and eat. Seoho settled quietly, eyes scanning the room with quiet curiosity. His gaze sharpened, analyzing every detail as if piecing a puzzle together. The food was humble, but the host's warmth and hospitality shone clearly. Still, a strange unease nagged Seoho beneath the surface of the kindness. Compared to his trading group's meals, this spread felt unexpectedly sparse. He questioned if the bandit leader might starve his own just to look good. Oddly, such a large fortress gave off a vibe of tight finances. Eating cautiously, Seoho found it hard to believe they'd be so generous while barely eating themselves. The thought struck that maybe they masked a plan to hike crossing fees subtly. He reasoned they wanted to hide weakness and likely hadn't uncovered the mountain's hidden secret yet. Seizing the moment, Seoho faced the fortress commander directly, ready to play his hand. He hinted that things looked rough on Jang Dae-soo lately. The room fell silent, stunned by Seoho's blunt observation. Jang Dae-soo leaned in, voice low and sharp, addressing Seoho as young master. His tone darkened, warning Seoho that his words were not just mistakes but serious insults. Seoho kept his cool, offering a polite apology for any unintended offense. He added smoothly that the strong reaction seemed unnecessary. Seoho laid it out plainly. Generous hospitality masked tough times, all likely a setup to squeeze higher crossing fees without raising alarms. The guests exchanged surprised looks, amazed at Seoho's insight. Seoho pointed out that most were merely pretending to eat heartily. Turning to Jang Dae-soo, Seoho challenged if he had misunderstood the situation. Jang Dae-soo snapped, slamming the table with a furious roar. Jang Dae-soo abruptly rose, his anger unmistakable. His glare burned fiercely toward Seoho. The commander's scowl showed through his eye bandage, thickening the room's tense air. The bodyguard anxiously questioned if Seoho had lost it, and what chaos might follow. Suddenly, Jang Dae-soo broke into loud, unexpected laughter, catching everyone off guard. Hesitant guests soon joined in, mirroring their leader's odd amusement. Seoho and Yang Chung stayed silent, tense, puzzled by the sudden mood shift. Jang Dae-soo apologized for his earlier outburst, acknowledging his poor act. He calmly admitted Seoho's observations hit the mark perfectly. Jang explained the harsh winter's heavy snow had hit the fortress hard this year. He added that Seoho meant no offense and seemed to have a solution, surprising Seoho with relief. Seoho mused that Jang seemed unusually generous for a bandit, something he'd never imagined in his past life. Jang smiled, eager to hear Seoho's proposed fix. Mars, as Seoho laid out his straightforward, effective plan. The room perked up, hanging on every word. Seoho paused to ask if the sword on the table belonged to Jang, noting the obvious care it received. Jang laughed, comparing a sword's value to a warrior's own limb, explaining his careful upkeep. He then wondered aloud what the sword had to do with Seoho's plan. Seoho smiled, challenging if Mount Wutong mattered more than that prized sword. Taken aback, Jang snapped that the mountain meant everything, shocked Seoho would doubt it. Seoho questioned the neglect, sparking outrage among Jang's men, who shouted warnings to stop the provocation. Tense, Jang demanded clarification on Seoho's accusation. Seoho calmly pointed to the snow as the root of the issue. He explained the heavy snow cut travel through the mountain, slashing their crossing fee income. Seoho pointed out their large group barely made it through. Smaller groups had no chance in that snow. He eagerly suggested clearing the snow to reopen roads, making travel easier and boosting crossing fees. Good news for all. Jang Dae-soo looked genuinely surprised, admitting he'd never imagined such an easy fix. Fortress members joked about how they missed the obvious praising educated minds, but one grumbled at Seoho's teasing portrayal. A few mocked their leader's oversight, making Jang blush with irritation, while others tried to ease the mood to spare his pride. Jang approached Seoho, calling him young Master Yoon, honestly admitting his embarrassment over missing the simple idea. He seriously confessed a debt to Seoho and asked if there was any reward he desired. Reiterating his gratitude, Jang asked plainly if Seoho had any particular reward in mind. Seoho smiled inwardly, knowing this was the moment he'd hoped for. Seoho requested a private word with the commander, catching eavesdroppers off guard. His smile turned mysterious, hinting at a secret treasure valuable to both Eunhae traders and the fortress. Jang led Seoho to a vantage point overlooking the fortress. Seoho admired the view. Jang proudly claimed it as their fortress pride. He shared how the fortress was built here for the stunning scenery, especially snowy winters that transformed the landscape. After a pause, Jang pressed Seoho for the real reason behind the private chat, sensing its importance. Seoho smiled calmly and questioned Jang's knowledge of spiritual herbs. Jang admitted ignorance and wondered why Seoho brought up herbs out of the blue. As Seoho recalled events from 5 years before his past life's end. Rumors once swirled about rare spiritual herbs appearing on Mount Wutong, stirring much interest. The Murim alliance, led by White Heaven, had struck Wutong Fortress swiftly, seizing all the prized herbs. Early in Seoho's new life, the Murim alliance remained unaware of the herbs' presence. Seoho spoke candidly with Jang Dae-soo. He revealed that precious spiritual herbs indeed grew throughout Mount Wutong. Jang was stunned, especially when Seoho pointed out a blue flower right beneath him. Jang looked down, spotted the flower, and was genuinely amazed. Seoho explained it was the snow spirit flower, a potent cure for internal organ injuries. Seoho mentioned other herbs too, like the white tiger spirit flower that clears bad energy, and snow ginseng, which boosts medicine absorption. He confidently claimed the mountain naturally hosted countless valuable spiritual herbs. Jiang was stunned, curious how Seoho uncovered such rare knowledge. Seoho smiled, explaining that as a trader, he needed some herb know-how and the eye for fertile ground. Jiang chuckled, admitting even merchants rarely spot spiritual herbs this fast. Seoho kept details secret, hinting with a sly smile he wasn't your average merchant, though he couldn't predict the future. Jiang stared seriously, demanding to know what Seoho really wanted. Seoho proposed an exclusive trade deal for the herbs with Eunhae, stressing the need for strict secrecy. Jiang hesitated, questioning why the deal had to stay under wraps. Seoho calmly warned that leaks would invite rivals and thieves, causing trouble and forcing them to defend the territory. Jiang grew angry, stressing these herbs were precious and outside interference, especially from self-righteous criminals like the Murim Alliance, would be a nightmare. Seoho inwardly blinked, surprised Jiang was already naming the Murim Alliance. Seoho sweetened the deal. He'd buy the herbs at a fair price and supply papers to tell spiritual herbs from common plants. Seoho offered a handshake, silently asking if Jiang agreed. Jiang shook Seoho's hand, sealing the deal. The handshake confirmed his commitment to work with Eunhae traders. Seoho thanked Jiang warmly and proposed heading back to sign the contract. He smiled, noting a contract was the backbone of any solid deal. Later, Seoho returned to the fortress. He stepped inside to loud chaos, wondering what the fuss was about. Suddenly a man rushed in, shouting for Seoho to hold up. The man grabbed Seoho in a tight, emotional hug, calling him young master. The crowd expressed deep worry, fearing something bad happened during his long absence. Seoho calmly assured them he was safe and nothing untoward had occurred. Still, one man confessed they were uneasy letting him roam unguarded, even at his own request. Seoho smiled warmly, reassuring everyone he was fine and wouldn't have requested a private meeting if danger lurked. Just then, Yang Daisu showed up with his men, laughing off their worries as overblown. Jiang chimed in, praising Seoho as the strongest among them, surpassing all expectations. The group was stunned by Jiang's bold claim. Whispering spread, but Jiang silenced them, urging everyone to pay close attention. He declared Seoho an honored guest at the fortress from that day forward. Orders went out for his men to treat Seoho and his group with top hospitality. Jiang insisted Seoho pass without paying tolls, refusing to charge someone who'd saved him before. Seoho politely declined, insisting on paying and having his bodyguard hand over a pouch of money. With a smile, Seoho framed the payment as a down payment on their new deal, easing any awkwardness. Jiang smiled back, happily accepting the gesture. After the exchange, Seoho decided it was time to move on, urging a quick departure. Meanwhile, Jiang admired Seoho's sharp mind and courage, especially for someone so young. He couldn't help but feel Seoho reminded him of an old friend. Suddenly, painful memories surfaced, Yang standing surrounded by flames. A harsh voice berated him, urging him to abandon reckless revenge before dying in vain. The advice lingered. Forget revenge, vanish, abandon old fighting styles, and wield new weapons. Concealing his skills meant switching weapons entirely to hide his true strength. Above all, the single command echoed, survive at all costs. A sorrowful memory hit Jiang, a badly wounded comrade begging him to survive no matter what. Back at the fortress, Jiang stood deep in thought, Seoho's bravery stirring old memories. At the gate, Jiang watched Seoho's group roll away, wagon wheels crunching softly on the path. He recalled heartfelt advice never to chase revenge, spoken by someone dear long ago. Yet sorrow gnawed at him. How could he live with the shame of losing family and a cherished one? Still, Jiang smiled sadly, unable to quell his curiosity about how far this brave young man, so like someone he loved, would go. Seoho suddenly stood in an eerie place, enveloped by thick darkness and swirling mist. He jolted awake, eyes wide with confusion, trying to figure out where he was. Spotting a doll on the ground, he wondered how it ended up there in this strange place. A faint moan caught his attention, instantly raising his alertness and nerves. He spun around, suspecting he wasn't alone after all. Cautiously moving closer, he found a weak child painfully calling for mom and dad. Compassion flooded Seoho as he quietly inched nearer, checking if the child was all right. Suddenly, the child gripped Seoho's clothes fiercely, surprising him with unexpected strength. The child's face lifted, terrifying and desperate. With a chilling plea, the child begged Seoho for help. Seoho snapped awake from the nightmare, a startled scream escaping him. Baojab, his assistant, rushed over, eyes wide with worry, asking if Seoho was okay. Baojab's face showed deep concern as he checked on Seoho once more. Young Am, the bodyguard, hurried in, gently asking if Seoho had a nightmare, concern flickering in her eyes. Seoho managed a weary smile, assuring them it was just a bad dream. Still inwardly he worried, finding that child quickly was urgent, or worse could follow. Young Am gently warned Seoho he might be overworking himself chasing the doll maker. Seoho smiled mysteriously, quietly agreeing that might just be the case. Calmly, Seoho noted that resolving this would bring significant rewards. He insisted seriously they push on with the search today. With calm confidence, Seoho vowed to continue the hunt for the dollmaker. Seoho and his team launched another search through Golden Immortal Village. Day 3 of their quest, Seoho felt grateful for his teacher and Yang Chung, whose efforts let him roam freely. Still, frustration grew. 3 days in, and the elusive artisan was nowhere to be found. He was certain the craftsman lived nearby, in a Paulownia-shrouded home, but locating him proved tougher than expected. The village was packed with Paulownia trees, making Seoho's search feel like an endless game of hide-and-seek. Seoho's frustration was obvious, while Baljab happily snacked and young Am watched, puzzled by his antics. Resigned, Seoho accepted he'd be wandering this village longer than planned. Mid-step, Seoho caught curious eyes tracking him, forcing a cautious pause. It dawned on him rival traders had been shadowing him since his arrival. Rival merchants, fearing Eunhae's impact, trailed Seoho's group, a companion quietly warned. The constant tailing was a headache, especially amid his dollmaker hunt. Seoho chose to handle the watchers first, then turned to Baljab, eager to hear about the market's highlights. Baljab's excitement bubbled over, praising the market's food and quirks he still loved after days. Youngam spotted something odd nearby and urged a quick detour. She blinked as Baljab and Seoho bolted ahead, chasing after them to keep the group together. After a breathless chase through the market, they shook off their tails and finally collapsed to rest. Youngam exhaled deeply, relieved the unwanted followers were gone for good. Baljab's surprise was genuine, wondering if the spying was common knowledge. Seoho shrugged, acting like it was no secret. A sudden shout of "thief" snapped Seoho's focus immediately. They spotted a desperate man chasing a thief, pleading for help, warning his family would starve without that pouch. Seoho sized up the chaotic scene in a heartbeat. Without hesitation, he asked Baljab for the apple in hand. Seoho focused, infusing the apple with his sacred icy yin energy. His teacher's lessons echoed clearly in his mind. He knew mastering the technique meant charging objects with yin energy. Still, Seoho realized his energy charge was modest. The power wasn't as strong as he wanted yet. Deciding it was enough, he hurled the charged apple toward the fleeing thief. The thief, oblivious, kept running. The thief accidentally stepped on the apple while fleeing. The slip sent him crashing to the ground. Upset, the thief glared around, guessing someone had sabotaged his escape. Seoho and his group caught up, firmly insisting the pouch be returned. Panicked, the thief scrambled to hand back the stolen pouch. Seoho returned the pouch to its owner, who expressed heartfelt thanks. With a warm smile, Seoho promised to escort the thief to the officials. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the man invited Seoho for tea to show thanks. Seoho politely declined, brushing off the praise and calling it no big deal. Tearful and insistent, the man wouldn't take no for an answer. Seoho finally agreed, smiling. Arriving, the man humbly called his home modest, but Seoho kindly praised its cozy charm. 2 small children dashed toward their father, their joyful calls filling the air. The father greeted them with a warm hug, clearly delighted to see his kids. Smiling, he introduced the children to the guests, encouraging a friendly hello. The kids' greetings made Seoho pause, a thoughtful look crossing his face. His eyes caught the familiar Paulownia trees in the garden, sparking mild surprise. He studied the older boy closely, sensing this might be the dollmaker he sought. Inside, Seoho mulled over the possibility while his bodyguard quietly suggested just asking the boy. The boy's resemblance to the one in Seoho's dream deepened his growing certainty. Just then, the father appeared with tea, apologizing for the wait. He humbly admitted he had little to offer a guest as honored as Seoho. Seoho gently dismissed the apology and praised the tea's delicate aroma with gratitude. The man suddenly realized he hadn't yet properly introduced himself. He introduced himself as Gong Du-yi, a potter from Golden Immortal Village, and thanked Seoho again. Seoho felt modest, insisting he'd only done what anyone would. Seoho politely inquired about the names of Gong Du-yi's children. The father smiled, sharing that his eldest was Gong Mil and his daughter Gong Rui. Seoho introduced himself as Yoon Seoho from Sangdan County, expressing gratitude for the warm welcome. Gong Du-yi humbly noted Seoho's kindness despite his apparent high status, which deeply touched him. As Seoho modestly called himself an ordinary merchant next to a dedicated father like Gong Du-yi, he sincerely admitted never parenting but heard raising kids rivals ruling a kingdom in difficulty. Gong Du-yi confessed feeling guilty for not providing more to his children. Seoho gently reassured Gong Du-yi, hoping his words wouldn't offend. He observed the kids' happiness as proof of Gong Du-yi's loving effort. Suddenly, Seoho spotted a small toy moving all on its own, sparking surprise. Amazed, Seoho asked the kids if they'd made the moving toy themselves. The girl eagerly explained her brother crafted it, and many more toys, too. Seoho marveled at the self-moving cart, inspecting it with growing fascination. He recalled such toys were once luxury playthings for wealthy kids only. He marveled silently at how such a young mind could craft something so intricate. Seoho's admiration for young Gong Mil's talent was unmistakable. Curious, Seoho wondered if the boy had crafted other items too. The little sister enthusiastically confirmed her brother's many creations. Suddenly, Seoho turned sharply as someone rushed past them in a blur. The girl bounced back, eager to show Seoho a wooden doll she held. Seoho inspected the doll, recognizing it matched his expectations. Though simpler than fancy dolls, its quality was impressive for an early attempt. They gathered around as the girl pondered why the doll stayed still. She guessed the doll's stillness came from fragile materials wearing out fast. Mill explained the doll moved thanks to a fish bladder inside, flexing when wound up. Mill admitted sadly the doll was made from scraps, so it broke easily and didn't last. Seoho asked if better materials would help. Gong Du-yi praised his son's talent for crafting small wonders. Yet he lamented that this skill brought no income, just joy for neighbors and his sister. Seoho echoed the disbelief, such talent but no money. Seoho assured Gong Du-yi that his son's talent was a rare, valuable gift. He added that with the right moves, this skill could bring real wealth. Gong Du-yi looked puzzled, asking how that wealth might come. Seoho explained that improved and marketed well, Mill's unique dolls could sell for big money. Gong Du-yi sighed, saying merchants usually pocketed profits while craftsmen got little. He quoted a saying about bears doing tricks while sellers grabbed the cash. No power meant exploitation. Seoho sensed Gong Du-yi's bleak view and feared the family might be trapped in hardship. Determined to change their fate, Seoho knew action had to come fast. Seoho caught Gong Du-yi's attention with a serious tone. He asked what share Gong Du-yi got from pottery sales, less than 10%, the father guessed. Seoho proposed a deal. Mill would get 40% profit if he joined Eunhae Trading Group's workshop. Gong Du-yi was stunned, questioning why Seoho offered such a generous cut. He hesitated, admitting he needed time to process the unexpected offer. Seoho smiled, assuring Gong Du-yi there was no rush and careful thought was wise. Standing, Seoho thanked the father for the warm hospitality and promised no pressure on the decision. As he left, Seoho mentioned plans to return to Hubei soon and stay at Ya-in meanwhile. He invited Gong Du-yi to visit him at Ya-in once ready to decide. Gong Du-yi nodded quietly. His kids waved enthusiastically as Seoho departed. Seoho and his companions set off toward their next stop. Their journey continued without delay. Young bodyguard questioned whether Mill was truly the craftsman Seoho sought. Seoho stayed silent, anxiety clear on his face. Internally, Seoho wrestled with wanting to help but lacking a solid reason to act. Frustration bubbled as Seoho realized no clear cause justified stepping in yet. Meanwhile, at the Hazel Oak Merchants Group, tension brewed. Two men discussed a failed attempt to collect Master Gong's monthly dues. One apologized, admitting the mission went sideways. His hired agent had been caught by Eunhae's third master's guards. He quickly reassured that backup plans were in place to handle it. The other demanded if he understood why Eunhae's son had appeared locally. Nervously, he said Seoho was watched for days but only wandered the market aimlessly. He figured Seoho was gaining experience, despite visiting Master Gong earlier. Gong Du-yi's tea-serving was seen as polite gratitude, just a coincidence, no threat. Soon they planned to force Gong Du-yi into a harsh slavery contract. Another erupted furious at Gong Du-yi's betrayal, switching sides after their mercy. He declared such simple folk untrustworthy and ordered Gong Du-yi brought in if he resisted. With a cruel smile, he vowed a lesson harsh enough to keep Gong Du-yi in line. The scene moved to Gong Du-yi's home later that night. He sat with his wife, heavy sighs breaking the quiet. She asked about his sighs. He confessed his mind lingered on the visitor. She guessed he meant the man who guarded their money. He confirmed, saying the man admired Mill's talent and offered a contract with 40% profits. His wife, wary from past deceptions, grew suspicious of such an unusually generous offer. Gong Du-yi stared, puzzled if she truly trusted that swindler's words. She admitted doubts but reminded him Hazel Oak merchants kept them fed and treated them fairly so far. Gong Du-yi's frustration grew as he reminded his wife they'd promised to find new work once their Hazel Oak contract expired. Suddenly, Gong Du-yi's eyes widened as he picked something unexpected up. A gold coin gleamed in his hand, sparking questions about its mysterious origin. Li revealed Huan Garyong had gifted the coin, promising repayment when the kids grew older to ease their worries. She confessed suspicion towards Seoho, who suddenly appeared with an unbelievable 40% profit offer. Too good to be true for folks like them. Her doubts deepened. If not a scam, then what else could it be? Firmly, she vowed never to let Mill go with such a stranger. Gong Du-yi's confusion lingered as he stared at the coin, torn and hesitant. A late-night call outside startled Gong Du-yi's stirring worry. Opening the door revealed a group led by a man smirking suspiciously at his late wakefulness. Gong Du-yi questioned the late visit and the guards tagging along. The visitor mocked surprise at Gong Du-yi's character, accusing Gong Du-yi of stealing from Hazel Oak. Shocked and furious, Gong Du-yi rejected the baseless claim. Ignoring protests, the man accused him of a sneaky nighttime escape with the coin. His wife shook with fear, insisting she never planned to flee and that the coin was a gift. He dismissed her claims, loudly branding them thieves caught red-handed with Hazel Oak's gold. Mill stirred awake, calling for his mother in distress. The wife, frightened, tried to explain, reminding them the coin was given for the household's use. The man scoffed, demanding proof of the coin's legitimacy, deepening her confusion and fear. Growing furious, he cut the talk short, ordering his men to drag them out. Resistance was useless as Gong Dui and his wife were forcefully pulled outside. The noise woke Mill and Ray, who ran terrified toward their parents. The man coldly blocked Mill, dismissing the contract as trivial, and ordered the kids back inside. Mill struggled, but was shoved away roughly, left powerless. Mill crumpled to the ground, pain written all over him, while his sister's scream echoed pure terror. The crash of broken things only amped up the kids' panic. The man yelled, calling the kids animals, but froze when a knife slammed into the ground nearby. A tall stranger with long gray hair stepped forward, moving slow and steady. In a chilling tone, he told Mill things had turned bad, handing him a knife. He warned Mill that nothing comes free without blood, daring him to stand if he was ready to risk it all. Fear flooded Mill as the stranger readied his sword, tension thick in the air. Mill and Ray bolted screaming, while the stranger watched but made no move to chase. The stranger's companion questioned letting them off so easy. Byung replied coldly, children weren't on his hit list. Tension rose as the companion asked if he'd handle the dirty work. Byung smirked darkly, extras cost extra. Bored and grumbling, Byung muttered sarcastic complaints about his dull countryside life, doing this only for the paycheck. And Byung unleashed his strength, smashing rocks with lightning-fast blows. Sneering, he wondered if anyone nearby could actually give him a challenge. At headquarters, Seoho was stunned to learn Mill had come looking for him. Seoho's shock grew, anxious about Mill wandering alone late without his parents. Just then, Mill and Ray appeared, clearly tired and worn down. Seoho's concern spiked seeing Mill's injuries, silently demanding answers. Seoho knelt gently, noticing Mill's wounds, urging him softly to explain. Tears welled in Mill's eyes as he fought to recount the nightmare his family faced. His shaky voice told the story, while Seoho and his men absorbed the harsh truth, anger and worry clear. Seoho felt the sting of guilt, blaming himself for leaving the kids vulnerable without protection. Nearby, a man served Ray food, watching quietly as she ate with surprising appetite. Seoho and his men discussed Ray's resilience, impressed by her strength through it all. Ray reappeared, healthier now, accompanied by a guard. The guard reassured Seoho that Ray's wounds were minor and Mill was improving as well. The guard informed Seoho that Mill wished to speak with him privately. Mill shyly stepped up, nervously questioning if Seoho truly meant that his talent could bring wealth. Tearful and earnest, Mill begged Seoho to save his parents, promising to work hard and repay any cost. Seoho quietly studied Mill for a moment, weighing the boy's plea. A gentle smile followed as Seoho patted Mill's head, regretting that his wish wasn't immediately possible. Mill's hope flickered, confused and disappointed by Seoho's response. Seoho reassured him he'd never force free labor, promising a formal contract and a fair share from profits. But first, Seoho needed Mill's parents' consent, meaning they had to be brought here soon. Seoho asked Mill to watch over Ray while he went to fetch the parents himself. Rising, Seoho thanked the head guard for protecting the kids during his absence. Before Yang-chung, leader of the Silver Wind Squad, Seoho vowed he couldn't ignore Gongdui's family plight. This was his duty in the Eunhae trading group. Yang-chung explained the guard detail was light. Most were tied up in a key meeting with the Johai trading group. Seoho reassured him the merchant meeting was peaceful, no battlefield requiring heavy protection. Yang-chung agreed to send 3 guards and urged caution. Seoho appreciated the concern. As Seoho stepped out, ready to leave. Waiting outside was Kwak Myung-hyun, head of the guards. Kwak handed Seoho a sword, hoping it'd stay untouched but insisting it was better to be prepared. Though uneasy about lacking sword skills, Seoho accepted the blade with gratitude. As Seoho left, Kwak quietly warned him of Byung, a dangerous figure from the Hazel Oak merchant group. The advice was clear: stay sharp and never underestimate anyone in Murim's harsh world. Kwak also warned that tough training awaited Seoho upon return, causing the young man to feel nervous. Seoho left with his 3 guards, urging them to keep pace and move fast. Meanwhile, Gongdui and his wife were held before the Hazel Oak Merchant Group's leader and officials. The leader accused Gongdui's wife of stealing a gold coin valued at 100 silver pieces. He reminded Gongdui that theft meant 5-fold repayment and mocked him for clearly lacking such funds. Gongdui protested their innocence, but his words were brushed off. The pressure was clear: sign the slavery contract or face worse. Anger flared as Gongdui called out their cruelty, accusing them of lacking even basic humanity. The insult sparked fury. An official slapped Gongdui hard enough to stun him. A harsh reprimand followed, demanding respect for his so-called future master. Gongdui crumpled in pain, his wife's worried screams filling the room. The leader stepped in with a mocking smile, urging calm and civilized solutions. He threatened that alerting authorities meant the family sail into brutal slavery, but offered a better option: work for him. Gongdui, barely holding on, asked if this was punishment for switching trading groups soon. The leader ignored the question, feigning ignorance to dodge the issue. A clear threat followed. Any more resistance would have dire consequences. Resistance meant handing him to authorities, where life would be so brutal many gave up entirely. With biting sarcasm, the leader joked Gong Du-yi's stubbornness might give his kids a slightly longer survival, breaking Gong Du-yi, who begged desperately for mercy. The mockery continued. The leader claimed the apology wasn't loud or clear enough. Another official barked for a better apology, raising the pressure. Broken, Gong Du-yi collapsed, tears streaming, head hitting the ground, begging forgiveness and admitting fault. Bloodied and defeated, Gong Du-yi agreed to sign the slavery contract, if only they'd spare his children and leave him unharmed. The leader nodded, and the guards released Gong Du-yi without hesitation. With a wicked grin, the leader dangled the contract, sarcastically noting it'd been simpler to agree upfront than suffer. One henchman sneered, claiming some folks only learn lessons after a good beating. Suddenly, a loud crash blasted through. The doors slammed open, startling everyone. Seoho appeared with a smirk, agreeing that some only learn after getting thoroughly beaten. Calm and confident, Seoho entered with sword in hand, claiming he only came for a peaceful chat. With a smirk, he joked since the door was wrecked, a little rough treatment wouldn't hurt. Dropping down with swagger, Seoho invited anyone brave enough to be the first to face him. The official's shock turned to panic, stammering as he struggled to identify this unexpected visitor. The leader snapped orders, demanding the stranger's name. His men nervously revealed him as Seoho, the youngest Eunhae heir. The leader smirked mockingly, recognizing the young man wandering Golden Immortal Village, and admitted they'd been tailing him. Seoho smiled sarcastically, claiming no need for tales. He already knew the leader's every move. Fury flared as the leader denied Seoho's knowledge. Seoho coolly called him a deceitful man, trapping innocents with slavery contract. Seoho spelled it out, a greedy beast stripped of humanity, trembling at the mere mention of Eunhae. He mocked merchants like him for ruining traders' reputations, adding the leader's scruffy beard screamed, "Con artist." The leader shook with rage and shame, mumbling incoherent curses under his breath. Seoho cracked a jab, saying anyone with that beard trying to confess love would get smacked with a bamboo stick. Losing control, the leader shouted orders to seize Seoho at once. Their masked guards lunged forward, swords drawn ready to strike Seoho down. But young Am, Seoho's bodyguard, intercepted them effortlessly. Her strikes were lightning quick, dispatching guards one by one. Calmly smiling, she remarked it'd been a while since a proper fight. With all guards down, young Am stood victorious and unshaken. Her calm demeanor never wavered as the fight ended swiftly. Standing silently over the defeated, her presence unnerved everyone nearby. Nervous whispers noted young Am's surprising power, especially since Seoho had claimed he just wanted to talk. Smirking, Seoho declared that with nuisances cleared, real talk could finally begin. Panicked, the leader tried to flee, shouting for help and denying any martial skills. Muttering in fear and anger, the leader wondered where Byung was, the very reason he'd hired him. Just then, Byung strolled in with a mocking grin, as if answering their silent call. The leader furiously demanded where Byung had vanished, and if he expected pay for idling. Byung fired back sarcastically, doubting the leader could even cover basic wages, which shocked and enraged him. Byung proposed a new deal, 10 times the pay to handle Seoho instantly. The leader grumbled agreement, labeling Byung a blackmailer. Weapon in hand, Byung readied for battle, sarcastically claiming he now earned every penny of that tenfold wage. Hazel Oak members shouted warnings, scrambling as Byung prepared to strike. Byung unleashed a brutal, lightning-fast assault, toppling several with ease. His face twisted into a terrifying grin, a red eye glowing, pure menace in battle. Seoho stepped in, blocking Byung's fierce attack with calm strength and a hint of shock. Byung taunted Seoho sarcastically, suggesting money might sway him as well. Nearby, the leader and an official acknowledged Byung's plain look hid first-class warrior skills. The official noted first-class fighters could lead small sects, while peak ranks stood leagues beyond. The leader laughed, daring Byung to teach the cocky youth a harsh lesson in martial ways. A fierce clash erupted, Seoho and Byung exchanging rapid, powerful blows. Seoho stayed confident, claiming no bribes needed. He could handle Byung just fine. Byung's anger flared, warning the spoiled noble to mind his tongue. Byung launched a furious high-speed strike, pressing the attack hard. Their strikes flew at dizzying speed, the fight reaching an intense fever pitch. With a mocking grin, Byung admitted surprise at Seoho's skill, not as weak as assumed. After a brief pause, both readied themselves for what was next. Byung confessed initial doubts but now saw real skill in Seoho. Byung pulled out a vial, sarcastically reminding everyone that Jeonhu's martial world was ruthless. He hurled the vial at Seoho, underlining the harsh dangers lurking in their world. Seoho sliced the vial, but the liquid splashed directly into his eyes. Sharp sting hit Seoho's eyes, hinting the liquid might be corrosive. Disoriented and blinded, Seoho struggled to stay calm, knowing he needed a fast fix. His mind flashed back to lessons on the sacred ICEN arts technique. Mastering it, he remembered, causes unease around dark, malicious energy. Seoho realized this discomfort could turn into a valuable advantage right now. He admitted that in his past life he lacked this sensitivity, and now finally grasped its true value. Seoho recalled his teacher's advice: advanced martial artists can sense opponents' moves without looking. That sense would sharpen with practice, becoming a weapon deadlier than steel. Despite the blinding liquid, Seoho sensed Byung's movements, a small but crucial breakthrough. He gathered inner energy, focusing deeply on years of relentless training. Just as Byung's strike came flying, Seoho dodged smoothly, fueled by sharp focus. Seoho countered swiftly, catching Byung off guard. Shocked by the speed, Byung pulled back in surprise. He questioned in disbelief how Seoho anticipated his sneaky strike. Seoho's sarcastic comeback implied knowledge had a price. No freebies here. Infuriated, Byung threatened swift revenge. Hazel Oak's injured cried for help amid chaos, calling out to the warrior Yu. Seoho's bodyguard, Young Am, fretted over the many wounded and the shortage of helpers. She spotted Gong Dui and his wife frozen in fear amid the room's panic. Someone tried to drag the leader to safety, but he hesitated, tense under watchful eyes. Young Am barked orders to stop the bleeding and treat the wounded, no time to waste. The leader and assistant jumped into action, following her commands without a second thought. Recovered, Byung roared and launched a stronger, fiercer attack at Seoho. Seoho skillfully blocked the strike and sent Byung crashing down. Exhausted and panting, Byung faced the calm Seoho, who signaled it was time to finish. A wicked smile spread across Byung's face, admitting he hadn't enjoyed a fight this much in ages. Suddenly, Byung tossed his sword aside. He revealed the sword was just for show. He avoided dirty work to protect his school's reputation. From that moment, he admitted Seoho's strength and vowed to take him seriously. Seoho smiled, realizing Byung's real skill was in hand-to-hand fighting, not swordplay. Seoho casually tossed his sword to Baljap, while Young Am voiced confusion over the sudden shift. Seoho stepped forward confidently, declaring his identity and matching Byung's fistfight with his own hand-to-hand skills. Memories of survival-driven martial arts from a past life flickered, prompting Seoho to show respect by addressing Byung as SSR. Byung smirked, impressed by Seoho's guts, and vowed to give him a tough lesson. Seoho resolved this time martial arts would be more than survival, they'd be his path to greatness. Fueled by fierce resolves, Seoho attacked, silently vowing to be stronger than ever before. The duel raged on as Seoho expertly blocked Byung's attacks, focused sharp as ever. Byung unleashed the twin-directed serpent strike, trying to shatter Seoho's guard. Byung was stunned, watching Seoho deflect blows like it was second nature. He couldn't believe someone so young could fight with such real skill. Their intense duel saw rapid strikes clashing with fierce energy. Byung kept telling himself he was stronger, yet Seoho's flawless defense puzzled him. Lost in thought, Byung mulled over the mystery. He wondered what secret let Seoho dodge every strike unscathed. Concluding it wasn't vision or technique, Byung questioned the true source of Seoho's skill. Suddenly, Seoho landed a solid hit on Byung's face, leaving him frustrated and shocked. Memories hit Byung. He was once a scared, lonely child, abandoned and fearing death. In his sorrow, a stranger appeared, noting no child should carry such sadness in their eyes. The man asked if survival was truly what Byung wanted. Offering a hand, the stranger invited him to come along. The warm smile reassured Byung, planting a rare seed of comfort and safety. Another memory showed Byung choking a terrified man, explaining coldly he was just doing his client's bidding despite desperate bribes. Byung smirked coldly, daring the man to name his price. Suddenly, an old man burst in, angrily warning Byung not to abuse his skills on the weak. The old man threatened to sever ties if Byung kept this up. Byung dismissed him coolly, saying he was just saying goodbye. The old man collapsed mid-rant. Byung coldly reflected he'd been born in the streets, violence his only teacher, questioning if surviving that way was really a crime. The old man grimaced, dismissing Byung's skills as soulless and greedy, predicting he'd grasp the truth one day. In an open courtyard, a crowd mocked Byung, teasing him for never knowing real cruelty since he'd only ever been the hitter, never the hit. One jabbed further, claiming even clueless weak merchants could band together and take Byung down. Sarcastic words warned Byung not to feel sad in hell. His current pain was just karma catching up. The scene flipped. Byung now stood over the fallen bodies of his mockers. He had wiped them out without mercy. Sitting amid the wreckage, a strange knife clattered nearby, grabbing Byung's focus. Suddenly, a shadowy figure offered his hand, impressed Byung cleared old pests, and invited him to join forces. Byung smiled, probing the offer's price. Deep down, survival was his true craving. Dreams of riches and power faded after a brutal thrashing, revealing their hollow core. During the fierce clash, a fierce energy blazed around Byung as he fiercely rejected defeat, fueled by raw defiance. Byung unleashed a risky, deadly move, the serpent devouring the iron bird, aiming to end things fast. Charging at Seoho with brutal speed, Byung tried to swing the fight his way. Seoho felt the unexpected power hit, sensing real danger for the first time. Just as blows met, Seoho's energy flared, sending a chill of threat straight to Byung. Byung grinned darkly, convinced he had shattered Seoho's guard. He launched a fierce finishing strike, fueled by a wild roar. Seoho stunned him again with a lightning-fast counter, leaving Byung lunging at air. Suddenly, Old Master's words echoed in Byung's mind. Those words warned his style was soulless, built on greed alone, and someday he'd get it. Seizing Byung's moment of doubt, Seoho gathered energy for a sharp counterstrike. Stunned, Byung finally admitted the master's truth. He was beginning to understand at last. One solid blow from Seoho hit harder than reality itself, finally knocking some long-overdue wisdom into Byung. In that quiet pause, it felt like he was kneeling before his master's grave, finally grasping that all the muscle in the world meant nothing without purpose. Byung dropped like a sack of regrets, the ground offering zero sympathy. He struggled to rise, bloodied and broken, more stubborn than sensible. Seoho stayed standing, barely, lungs on fire, but victorious all the same. Seoho glanced at the battered Byung with a rare bit of gratitude, lesson painfully received. Later, Gongdui poured out thanks to the Eunhae group, unsure how to repay help that had saved him. Seoho shrugged it off with a casual reminder. He wasn't exactly selfless either, leaving Gongdui a bit puzzled. Word of Hazel Oak's collapse spread fast, while its cuffed leader tried and failed to play innocent. Seoho flashed a fake coin at the officials. The leader's jaw hit the floor harder than his defense ever could. Turns out, Seoho had seen that coin before, in a past life, just before its owner got a death sentence. Justice wrapped things up with a bow and some rope as the furious merchant boss screamed his way to jail. Amid all the noise, Byung pulled a classic exit, vanished like a ghost with unfinished business. Seoho grinned and reminded everyone he was just a regular merchant, not a saint. Gongdui offered to return the favor, even if he had to go the extra mile. Seoho liked the spirit, then cheekily asked for Mill, strictly on paper of course. He turned to little Mill, flashing a smile that could melt even business nerves. Seoho waved like an old friend, reminding Mill of a certain deal kids rarely forget. Mill lit up with joy, and Seoho's warm grin sealed the unspoken agreement. The story jumped to a posh setting dripping with wealth and velvet secrets. A striking woman chatted with her maid, clearly intrigued by news of Song Jangju's latest career move. Her smile hinted at mischief. This twist just made the game way more fun. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button until explosion. See you on the next video.